All righty, looks like we've got everyone we're expecting today too, correct? Is Hunter coming today? Do you know?
I'm not sure if he's in. I'm not sure if he's.
Okay.
in.
Oh, yeah, John. And John texted me that he was coming from a dentist, so he'll be maybe a few minutes late too, so.
Sad.
Yes, but he is coming as well. So let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is, time is it? Officially at 9 a.m., calling together the May PRG meeting. And make sure I make a motion. Do we have any no remote participation today, so we can move on that. And first up on the agenda is to adopt the meeting agenda as published here. So we make a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Agenda as published. Second item we're going to review is the adoption of the previous minutes that were distributed. All in favor of approval? Any?
Are you making that motion?
Oh, I'm making a motion. I make a motion to approve. Well, first off, any comments on the minutes that were published? You done? Nope. Okay, so I make a motion to publish to approve the April minutes as published. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Next up, we have public comment, and I believe we have, public comment today.
First and only up, Kim Vandenberg, 806 Cappington Lane. Oh, gotta get mine.
Oh, that's a little piece is missing. Good morning.
Apologies.
You let me know when you're ready. You ready?
Mhm.
All right. Good morning, Kim Vandenberg, 806 Cappington Lane. First, for the record, Councilman Ilaraza confirmed council's support of me in litigation. I did nothing wrong. That stays on the record every meeting if necessary until this council starts acting with integrity. I expect it to be a while, but with this group, there's no shortage of material. Second, the minutes. I made my prior comment intentionally to create a clean legal record. The draft minutes got it right. Then Lauren Thomas, a plaintiff actively suing me, the village, and who's also a donor, asked Councilman Eck to change them, quote, support stung the most, end quote. His response, quote, what would you like reflected, end quote. That says it all. And that's exactly what happened. Over the weekend, Angel directed Austin, the clerk, to make the change, and the minutes were revised to match what Lauren Thomas wanted. No public discussion, no transparency, just approved. And the council had the opportunity to do the right thing and approve the original minutes last night at the council meeting, and they did not. Disgraceful. Lauren got her way at the village's expense, increasing risk. Well done, council. And yes, she's a donor. But not surprising, she's told others that she controls council, and sad to say, it appears that way. You allowed a plaintiff to influence the official record of a defendant's statement. That is not clerical. That is a governance failure that creates liability for the village. The clerk and the manager said the minutes should be corrected. You ignored them. That is reckless and arrogant. So I'll ask directly, Mr. Spencer, isn't your role to protect the village and if necessary from council itself? Are you doing that? From my seat and without legal expertise, it doesn't look like you are. Could you please start? I have concerns. This record may matter in the future. Let's get it right, just in case. And Lauren, if support stings, be prepared to hear it at every meeting until I decide to stop saying it. Third, taxes, roads, and the fiction this council sold. Keep taxes low. That was the pitch. You killed the GO bonds meant to address road costs, and you criticized the tax rate above revenue neutral. And now you're acting like those costs just appeared out of nowhere. They didn't. The prior council's budget and the actual public record laid it out: rising road costs, declining reserves, and a path to higher taxes. Councilman X said there was no strategy, political spin while contradicting the official public record. Well done, Tom. Now you're boxed in. Your options: one, admit it and raise taxes, but you won't. Two, cut what residents actually use: village events, trails, greenways, while protecting donor priorities. That's not leadership. Three, drain unassigned fund balance reserves and take on real financial risks to avoid admitting reality. That's reckless. Either way, residents pay, and your own words still apply, Tom. If you aren't willing to step up, they should step aside. That standard doesn't expire. There's a growing list of ethical and procedural concerns already documented. This is just one. I'll keep documenting, and I'll see you at the next meeting.
Madam Chair, you may proceed.
Okay, no other public comments today.
No other public.
Okay, very good. Next up, we have our unfinished business, and we'll go through these. Some of these may overlap into future topics too, but the first one is community events, and we can pull that up.
I'll pull up my document from last time just to
Thank
add to.
And this is
Before,
go ahead.
if I may, before we continue with the discussion, was there anything that you saw on that draft that you wanted to talk about? Any of those previous events we need to revisit before we move forward to the next ones?
The previous ones, you're saying the ones, the.
Yes, we've so far have discussed National Night Out, Trick or Treat in the Park, Arbor Day, tree lighting, and 5K, and then car shows and a farmer slash vendor market. So we really only have two more to discuss, which is Easter egg and Marvin Day.
Easter egg and Marvin Day. And I think I want to also bring up again, this kind of bleeds into the opening of the Houston Ross Park, the formal dedication next fall. I think that kind of falls into what I call a category of an event. It's not an event.
It's a one-off.
It's a one-off. So I think that's the question. I think I'm looking at Jill is funding for that too. And also, do we want to take that as an opportunity to bring it as a community event? So Austin, just so I'm clear on this, should I be working off this list, or if I consider that a new idea to propose, do we add it to this conversation?
I honestly would keep this to the community events that you're doing every year. One-off events
Okay.
are not going to be, we're not going to be playing the same way, just depending on the circumstances.
Okay,
I
so
recommend more sticking to the annual ones.
the annual- Okay, so then we'll table that till we get to the other item on update on the park then, that particular event.
So let's maybe start with Easter egg. Does that sound good?
Since it's just passed?
Yeah, we have most time to plan it, you know.
Okay. All right. So we did not have the Easter egg hunt this year. I think we've had challenges in the past with weather first off, and then, and volume. As far as consideration, that's a high impact on staff. Timing of that too is always the week before Easter, and sometimes that also conflicts with spring breaks. Consideration around keeping that as a
Well,
continuing
the fact that
event.
Easter moves,
Mhm.
yeah, the
Mhm.
schedule of Easter is not set. That does make
Mhm.
that harder. I never
Mhm.
really thought about it. Yeah, like that.
I mean, my gut instinct is that, it would be similar to Halloween where we would have a bunch of people show up for free candy. I mean,
You would think.
there is, I was like, one is orange and black, the other's pastel
Mhm.
colored, but really they're not that different of events.
But maybe it's the date.
From the
moving
secular
around.
standpoint, but I think maybe weather, maybe date. And then trying to find a date that corresponds without actually being on Easter Sunday, because people, I mean, people want to go out for Halloween and dress up and show off their costumes multiple times. But maybe there's something about, trying to add in. I mean, if I had a kid, I think I would
Mhm.
love to go and do that, but we have had, if I remember correctly, we did not have the most amazing turnout. And then it's also further complicated by we have to load the eggs as opposed to like the trick or treat thing where it's just, open your trunk and hand out candy. But
Yeah.
and then the spacing of different hunts for different age groups then further complicates it. So well, initially my thought is like, why is that one not more popular and why don't we do it? It should be easy. Like once I start thinking about all the parameters, maybe we do leave that one off. It hasn't had a proven track record.
I think just a question too, if you look at the list, right, we also are trying to, hit the different demographics, and the small children are typically going to be the Halloween, the Christmas, and the tree lighting and the Easter egg. So we can also, and also time of year, right? Do we have any other major event in the spring? We have, I think it's Arbor Day, and Arbor Day is
As it should be in
yes,
October.
in October. So other spring events that we have,
Are none.
none. So that's either an
Well, Marvin
opportunity.
Day was a spring thing,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, so Marvin Day
Day
was in spring and,
And 5K
the
was-
5K kind of was,
Mhm.
we moved to June.
You could always move the 5K into the spring to put
Yeah,
something
I
there.
think that would be.
Not
Right.
as
Oh,
hot.
because, I'm sorry, I forgot about this. I wrote this in last time's notes. What if we connected the 5K to some monarch butterfly connection somehow with the mayor's monarch pledge? So it was like the monarch 5K, I don't
So
know.
it's like a joke, run away from the bees.
Yeah, and you can dress like a bee or a butterfly and run
Mhm.
your run and, yes.
Okay. And I think
The
also,
Marvin Monarch Marathon,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
maybe a non-Easter themed spring event would be lovely to add. And with Mayor Pro Tem really wanting to get some type of vendor market off the ground, I think maybe we can potentially have a goal by March or April, working around spring break and around when the other towns are starting to have their sort of fun little spring festivals. I think it would be easy to have just like a pop-up sort of spring fair / market where we can get bounce houses, a face painter, a couple things that aren't going to break the bank. maybe line up a few food trucks and a DJ and let people come out and just enjoy the park and the spring weather, you know. We could tie it into any theme you want. We could have games and scavenger hunts or just anything to kind of have activities for the kids to do. We could even potentially use it just to kind of promote, you know, gardening, the Monarch stuff, show people the community gardens. Like we could just really highlight the park and all it has to offer on a beautiful spring day potentially.
Could do a trail run. Well, maybe not necessarily a 5K. You
walk,
could. You could do
yes.
a trail run,
and
trail
course,
walk.
Trail runs are a big deal because there's not many of those. And you
Mhm.
can do scavenger hunts, all kinds of things. At Marvin Eford, there's
Mhm.
tons of stuff that you can do.
And you could do another mini vendor market or something like that too, depending.
And a plant sale.
No plant sale.
Or a plant
Actually,
exchange,
that's
right.
not
So
a-
That time of
jumping,
year is
jumping
great.
ahead to the other event not discussed is Marvin Day. What
Mm.
Jill just described in
Mm.
total is where Marvin Day ended up
Mhm.
and how it was going to proceed. The bounce houses were a hit, a couple of food trucks, you know, and you know, the tinsel, the face painting, the magician guy, pretty much we had that locked in to kind of a science. So, and we also had the date. So essentially what I think, what I'm hearing
Rebranding.
is just sort of rebranding Marvin Day, or at least changing our vision of it. I mean, it could still be Marvin Day in the sense of a community celebration, but if that's our placeholder, I still think the 5K and the Monarchs and the whole thing is great, but like we could kind of move
That
that.
would be away from the park.
We could
right,
move
yes.
that from June.
Mhm,
That's not in
mhm.
the park
Well,
necessarily.
if we have it at the park, we can't have a 5K
No,
because
right.
the 5K
Just keep
has to
going
be
around.
run out of the elementary school.
You actually
Yeah.
can. There's been many 5Ks happening at the
Really?
park. There's actually one coming up this month.
Oh, okay.
It's
They
on,
Just go around.
Yeah.
they do. It's on the trail, which, you know,
It's like 3.5 loops.
that's always made me nervous because I feel like trails are like, there's roots and there's like, you know, you
Yeah,
can
but
trip and
that's-
slip, but
That's what makes it more fun.
true, true.
Not a runner.
Yeah, like.
But I agree with you. What I just described is basically a scaled down version of a Marvin Day. I think Marvin Day, just those two words together, seems to have like a chalky taste for some people. So if we rebrand it and we just call it, you know, spring fair, spring vendor, you know, whatever, we can come up with something, spring market.
Since the demand seems to be for the vendor market and to make that happen, and we're kind of looking for something to tie that into. I mean, if we're spring seems to be the right time maybe to do, I mean, if it's not a Christmas one.
A lot of times
Right.
For Mother's Day too.
Spring-
you kind of
exactly,
can
and
hit
that-
that up too in late April for Mother's Day items and event.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Is that, you know, Mother's Day tends to be sort of a tchotchke rich kind of thing. So if it's not necessarily a farmer's market and it's a craft art vendor, you know, kind of thing. I think that anchoring it or having those side things like the bounce houses and the DJ and the stuff that we had kind of constricted Marvin Day down to, maybe we rebrand it as a spring kind of thing. We could tie in the barn we've had in the past with Marvin Day. We've had the animals, which could continue. We've also had the kids craft, which could continue, but it could take on more of a spring focused kind of thing.
Yeah, because the craft was always the plants, you know, the little
Animals and
pots.
planting, and, you know, we could have a plant exchange
I
as
think
part
it's,
of it
yeah,
as well.
it's a good chance to also highlight more of the park too, right? Because it's also
Yeah.
the assets of like the green trail and the community market.
Well, we now have,
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. By next year, we'll have 6 different gardens in there that are focused on pollinators or something
Right.
similar. Yeah, some of them are really close to each other. But nonetheless, I still count them as separate because I have to walk to the next.
Yes.
I love the idea of tying in the Monarch, the Mayor's Monarch Pledge too, because we've already done like which we should continue to do because it's a hit, where we buy the pots and the soil and the seeds and the kids, that's their craft. They make pots to take home. But I do think it would be super cheap and easy to order like a ton of like butterfly wings and bee wings, you know, from like Oriental Trading or one of those type companies. And, you know, I think it would be adorable to see a bunch of kids running around the park wearing butterfly and bee wings personally. It would just make me smile. I think it would be a cute event.
Oh, actually, Leanne does.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't we do a 5K during Marvin Day once? Couldn't we just do that like again?
I do not recommend that.
Oh, then
That was an
not-
all-day affair.
Yeah.
Morning to
So-
morning to sunset.
Yeah, so Michael, originally, yeah, we did have the 5K. You're absolutely right, attached to Marvin Day, but the 5K happened at the elementary school.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Marvin Day was happening there. And what we found was that people would attend the one in the morning and then not the afternoon.
Oh, that makes
So,
sense.
you know,
Yeah.
It was just too
It was
much.
too much stuff in a day. And if people showed up for the 5K, they were like done for the day and
Oh,
ready
yeah,
to
they're
go.
tired, yeah.
Do their other stuff. And then once we split them, it actually really was very successful. So I would be in favor of continuing to keep the 5K, which was already on Austin's list. It is sort of self-contained. Once we find another vendor, it kind of
Yeah.
runs itself.
Do two a year.
Next year, right?
Do a year.
Do 2 a year. It pays for itself. It gets a lot of people out, and
5K.
and you could
Great idea.
you could do it in 2 different locations. You could do one like a traditional route around the loop, and then do one at Marvin Eford Park.
I like that
Like a
idea.
fall one?
Do one in the fall. Do one in the spring.
that would
and
be
the
So
fall.
when the weather's- when the weather's
Avoid the
nice.
summer.
Yes.
Actually,
Moving
I-
it to June
Well, we could
was a
try
little
the,
dicey
we could
because
try the
stuff
park
like-
as a fun run, maybe for the first time, and then do a real
Yeah.
5K on the road for the
Yeah.
other one too, you know.
Well, I'm not a runner, but I am outside a lot and I wouldn't want to run in June, quite
No.
frankly. I would be
No,
one.
it'd have to be spring or fall.
January, February
Yeah.
would be my running days, but, you know.
So just to kind of keep us on, and I like all the ideas, make sure we're capturing, I believe we're hearing that the spring idea of a spring event to kind of capture the children, the nature,
But
the,
with more of a focus on nature, the
Nature.
Monarch Mayor's Pledge, because that is an
Mhm.
ongoing thing. Just
Yeah.
because we checked all the boxes this year, we get to check them all
All
next
of it.
year, right? Because I have
Right.
to keep the gardens
but we
alive.
also want to include some targets of maybe the vendor piece too, because that was important and what that looks like. We can shape that.
So my
I think
suggestion-
without the vendor piece, you're not going to have, I don't know that we'll have much support for, because I didn't budget for a spring Easter event because it was canceled. So, but the farmer's market and some type of vendor thing is very important. So I feel like that has to be
Okay.
the biggest component of a spring event. And then everything else is just kind of fun for the kiddos
Okay.
and tying into other initiatives that we have in the village.
Fun
Does that make
question.
sense?
What do you want to call it?
Mm,
That might take a
The
little
spring
loose
event.
doing.
Yeah, just think on that one and decide right now.
All right.
You have an idea?
I will think on it.
You
Yeah,
will.
yes, you should.
Yeah.
Hang on. So what I think I'm hearing is, I mean, the vendor market thing is definitely bubbled to the top as everybody's, big priorities. So we can try to tie one into the tree
Christmas,
lighting and
right?
stuff
Mhm.
to hit that, Christmas shopping itch.
Mhm.
But if, in looking at this list, it really is apparent we have no
Spring.
spring events
Mhm.
whatsoever. Given the complications with the Easter egg hunt, I would ditch, I think
Yes.
I'm hearing that we're gonna ditch that.
mhm.
And then, we're going to retool an iteration of Marvin Day, kind of the stuff we had before,
Mhm.
and make that sort of the backbone or the
Mhm.
scaffolding for
maybe we
our new
should-
target vendor market,
Mhm.
which would be probably the big focus, as opposed to a Christmas one. We can get a little
Yeah.
one going.
We're talking the butterflies into it, right? For the
Mhm.
spring thing?
Yeah, so yeah, if we rebranded away from Marvin Day to make to spring,
Maybe
yeah, we
like
could-
Butterfly Day or something?
Would
we
you?
can- I was just saying something, I mean, obviously the alliteration of Marvin and Monarch, I mean, I'm sure we can play off of that
The
somehow.
Milkweed Festival.
I was going to say
The
the
redneck.
spring monarch market or monarch market and trail run, something like that.
Oh, I like that.
I'd like to see
And
one.
trail run, I like that.
Um,
They came in early and then they left.
So considering like how you'd want to rebrand, scale this down, we originally, had Marvin Day running all day, and then we moved it to just the evening, and now we're kind of mid-afternoon. Do you want to keep mid-afternoon, or do you want to shift to like a more of a morning lunch time event?
I would.
keep-
It's great for a
I would
run.
stay midday
Midday.
And then keep it short.
and keep it short and sweet. It should be fine midday if we're not, I mean, if we're staying in that April
Mhm.
timeframe, we should, except for this past April, we shouldn't run into too much heat. Rain is always a,
I would
Potential
also
issue.
move it away from that last weekend.
well, so you can attend?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're thinking more late March, early April?
So I think Marvin Day previously,
Oh.
we had picked like the last the last weekend in April, I think,
As long as it's not Easter.
as long as it
Yeah,
wasn't
we'll find
Easter,
out.
in which
Yeah,
case then we
that's-
shifted,
We'll have to
but
find, yeah. we'll look at-
Christina and Bob always had another commitment, so they could
That's
never
never
be
gonna
there.
change.
That's never gonna change. So maybe we make it the second to last weekend or the second weekend
But
of April.
You're always going to have to work around Easter as well and
Yeah,
spring
that's
break.
I was gonna say, any
And
spring
spring
event, we're
breaks,
gonna have to
yeah.
work.
And
around
I would
Easter
want
and
us to
spring break.
double check, I think Waxhaw does a big spring thing as well. I don't, is there's Kaleidoscope, is that their fall or their spring? I can't remember. Okay, so Kaleidoscope Festival is their big one. That might be May, but I would just want to double check that we're not competing with too many other big events in town.
Yeah, and you do run the risk of absolutely horrendous weather.
Mhm.
There's
Pretty
just,
much
I
all
mean,
the time.
on either side of it this year,
I was
it could
gonna
have
say
been
that.
90 or it could have nearly snowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, either one.
So just a fun fact, Easter can fall between March 22nd and April 25th, with the extremities being very rare. The last time it was March 22nd was in 1818. So you run a very low risk if you do like the last weekend in March, for example, but it'll be a little cooler.
Well, look,
So
so-
things to think about.
March is an interesting idea, and actually, believe it or not, the garden, some parts of the early
I was
spring
gonna say, when
stuff
do we
would-
start looking the back? See, the problem is that you don't have any of the butterfly stuff.
Easter's the
even
28th next year.
sprouted by March,
Yeah.
Right, so
really.
I'll go back and look at
Yeah,
mine.
Easter's the 28th of 2027, March 28th next year.
Oh, wow.
The most common date for Easter is around April 16th.
Okay. So each year we'll have to adjust, but I think for now, the purpose, maybe rather than picking the date, I think we want at least, do we agree on the concept? And then just so I understand too, like you said, Jill, we don't have real funding for it. It's got to be kind of vendor and we'll have to kind of shape it into what we can afford to do. But with that, does this need to become a recommendation to council then to approve this new event? What's the
So
process?
I'm compiling these notes, and
Mhm.
once we finish this discussion, I'm going to ask you all to just approve this doc, to recommend approval of these recommendations, and I'll provide this to council.
Okay.
Um,
Mhm. And then I think what I would assume that these ideas we'll continue to discuss here, but perhaps like with Marvin Day, we, see if someone wants to volunteer to kind of take lead of organizing this, because I know it's not going to be Jill and her capacity to do all this. And there's some good, brain power here of folks who might be able to, put this together as a plan and then present
Yeah.
it back to.
We also are in the process of actively looking to hire somebody that will take some of this on. We've got that approved in the budget for July 1st. So my hope would be that by the fall, we have somebody in this role who is helping, but if not, we can make it work, but
Right.
it would be
For scheduling purposes, the first monarch egg I saw on milkweed this year was April the 9th.
Okay,
So the milkweed was up this high by then.
okay.
So it had been popping out. So that says that late March, early April, there'll be something to look at.
Okay.
Just say, that's milkweed, don't touch it. And you might actually see a monarch,
Okay.
because that's when I saw him, was much earlier.
So right now, you guys have pretty much talked about every event. We can go back through each one really quickly. We're almost out of time on this item. But right now, we're at a high level. And once we take once this goes to council and they give their thumbs up on these ideas, then you guys will talk about each of these events again as it comes time to start planning them. So high level.
Just a quick
assumption
update
now.
from last night. Council did ask about the 5K during the adoption of the budget. And I explained why I didn't put it in the budget, because until we have a new vendor or until we know we're going to do it, it doesn't make sense. Especially because it mostly ends up being a wash. The revenue that we get from the 5K ends up covering the expenses. It really doesn't have a budgetary impact. So I just informed them that if we find a vendor, if we decide to move forward with something like this in like October or whatever, that we would come back and, adjust the budget to account for it. So that was good news that they seem very open to it.
So Jill, are you pursuing, and just make sure we know who's helping with that? Do you need help with identifying the vendor, or where are we at?
I've started talking to the vendor that does the Union County Sheriff's Office 5K every year. It's just a matter of getting probably on the phone with them and starting to discuss specifics and pricing and things like that. So when I first reached out to them, they were busy with some trail races and 5Ks, which I also like that they do both. They do trail races and traditional 5Ks. So we can at least start preliminary conversations about when their availability is, because they may have other races booked, and then how much it costs.
Determine the date.
Okay.
That might tell us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Jill, the other thing I was thinking, I know we've got some pretty active Let Me Run and Girls on the Run programs, and they usually have a fall race they're training for. So I can reach out and see what their dates are for the fall, because they might be a good population of runners to join if it's in their schedule. So
Yeah, for sure. Love that.
But only if they'll wear both.
that's Oh.
So-
Okay.
So if I could, I would like you guys to give a recommendation on this today so I can give this to council. Like I said, we're staying high level conceptual here. So just so we can review National Night Out, keeping with low impact additions.
Yes.
And just make a comment if you see anything as I'm scrolling down that you want to cover really quickly. Trick or treat in the park, really not changing it. Informational booths for PR&G, same for Arbor Day. Tree lighting, opportunity for a holiday themed vendor market. No really other changes than that. Bringing back the 5K with the health fair vendor market, twice a year, spring and fall. Self-sustaining for the most part. Other opportunities to add farmers, special vendor markets to other events. This would be something you guys would continue to discuss once we conceive of an opportunity to do another vendor market. Right now,
I would
5K.
I would kind of dedicate number 6 right there to targeting a spring one that is
Mhm.
essentially Marvin Day under a different name.
Well, I've got Marvin just further down.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
this I think is taken care of by
Mhm.
that
By the Christmas
recommendation.
and the
By the
spring.
Christmas and the new spring concept.
As opposed to a standalone. I mean.
Those,
yeah.
that's our vendor market. I mean, it is the reason for it.
And I like that much better than the idea of a standalone
Mhm.
vendor market. That's it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Well, I was
Because
gonna say, so the community seems to want a standalone vendor market.
they-
You feel better about tying it to
anything else.
anything else,
Mhm.
and so
Because of
I,
the competition with
Mhm.
all the other farmers markets on
Yeah.
the record, all the other farmers markets that are in the area.
right,
There
exactly.
are only so many farmers and they're not making more of them.
Well, and it could
Well,
be a
and-
good test to see
That's right.
if if we can't get people to show up for a vendor market when we have a ton of other things to keep your kids happy and tired and occupied, do we stand a chance getting you to show up to a standalone market just to spend money and go home? So I would really like it to be a good test to see.
We've done.
It's one thing to say you want it, it's another thing to actually get out of bed and show up for it. So.
Well, and how many, and I think that's gonna be our draw, sort of to both of your points, is that while we may conceptualize it as sort of standalone in the sense that that's sort of now our purpose in having it, or, to answer that need. How many other vendor markets have a kids craft and hair tinsel and face painting and like all that stuff for free as a draw? And so the stuff that we've seen as being successful in Marvin Day then in conjunction with that makes ours stand out, might get us some traction.
And I don't know that I recommend all of that being free.
Well, right.
Because
No, but in past, it
it's
has
very
been,
expensive.
well, no, you're right, because we used to just pay for it with the sponsors, so it was a wash and then the paradigm shifted. So, but if, we have all of those attractions in addition, so, I mean, to Christina's desire, it will have an ulterior motive of promoting pollinators and plants and everything like that, which I love.
Well, continued
And it will-
promotion
yes.
of the mayor's.
Yeah,
marketplace,
exactly,
because that's-
Hold
yeah,
on,
exactly.
And our
all of
green
that.
space.
So let me get to the end of the document because we're going to go, that's the very end of the document. I do want to leave this on here separate by itself to at least show that we discussed it as a standalone,
Okay.
as an option. I've got it listed now as adding to other events rather than a standalone. And I just kind of put the few points of our discussion on here.
Okay.
And then you've got no changes for the car show because they're mostly independent. We've got our Easter egg hunt.
Yep.
Remove and focus efforts on a rebranded Marvin Day as a new spring event. You've got possible date range, midday event, navigate around Easter spring break, things to keep, animal exhibits, kids crafts, highlight the park gardens and the Monarch Pledge. Do you guys see any notes you'd want to add to these two events for today?
I don't know that I would want to have the animal exhibits at the spring.
Why? I mean, I don't care either way. I'm thinking about the ones that Habitat Builders does, like the snake guy and maybe birds or something like that, or.
Maybe that's
Frogs
part
and-
of a fall event.
Or don't do the
Instead of
big
doing-
ones, but do the, the rescues can bring in something.
It just, in past experience, it takes up a lot of space in the barn and it, they usually can't stay the whole time, so they're,
But we're keeping it shorter.
right.
I can tell you at least.
I don't know, I think in my mind, I was just thinking like, let's focus on spring and the monarchs and like plants and less on maybe like reptiles, you know? But I also love the kids' craft and I would love for it to be the pots and the soil and the seeds and all that stuff again. And
Part of our design.
And
I
plant
know.
the pollinator plan.
yeah,
I just know that for habitat builder events.
I would
we
almost
have
love to
live
see
animals.
exhibits being this is the perfect time of year to, especially residents like me who are completely clueless, like I would almost rather see like, spring gardening themed exhibits, like how to start your own pollinator garden, which obviously plant sales, what you mentioned, and then maybe something like, what are annuals that you can plant once that will come up every single year for those of you with a black thumb who don't know what you're doing, you know?
Get the master gardeners.
Yes,
there
get the
for
master
sure.
gardeners. You could
Yeah.
get some landscape
Plant
design
sale
folks to
is possible.
sponsor it, maybe. Okay.
And the kid attractions could include the
Okay,
kid.
we got
craft-
lots of
or the
ideas.
I
kid
got
craft.
loads
You
of
can still
contacts.
use.
That's great. So that'll be,
Yeah,
well,
move
timing might be
plant-themed
well,
food
you'd have
crafts
your,
up one
once you
line.
have your project person in place, and then we can start to build these ideas and then kind of back.
And we
into
have
that.
good connections for
Yeah.
all those kind
Yeah.
of things, so that's all relatively easy.
I think it's exciting that we've got something that folks feel kind of, kind of revived on, and we've got a lot of good ideas coming together. So we've got time, most important.
John is
Morning.
here.
John?
We've solved all the problems.
Yes, we've got a new spring event, yeah. All righty,
So
do we need to approve anything?
Sorry, I was
Recommendation?
running late.
you're good. Any other notes on this?
No, that's a lot.
I think you guys had a really good discussion. So if you guys are good with this, I'll obviously clean it up a little bit, but if I could go ahead and get a motion to recommend, a motion to approve these recommendations and send to council.
Make a motion to recommend these ideas to approve to council, so send to council for approval.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed.
All right.
Thank you. Very good ideas from everyone. I like that. Okay, and next up for discussion is the signage and plaques on the Native American trails or tribes. And Christina's been doing some research. We're going to talk a little more detail on signage as a whole for Houston Ross Park, but Christina, what do you have as far as that?
So can you pull up the,
I can, give me 1 second.
And
it's
this-
a long story how I found this, but I found this website that is called nativeland.ca. And you can put your address in and find out which indigenous tribes used to hang out on your property, on the property on which you live. And since we were dedicating this park to something that happened about 100 years ago, I thought we should also include a little, at least a little bit about all the stuff that happened before that, for thousands of years. And so, if you put in this, particular address, you get Sherrall, Catawba, and Waxhaw people were here before at different times and overlapping and stuff. They have, some verbiage that we can use. It's short and sweet. It's not like we need to, write an epistle or anything, but you should look at these and I guess decide which version you would like. And I think it should go on our signage, whatever signage we have that is talking about the history of this part, this parcel of land, that is just kind of at the beginning, just that it's an acknowledgement, if nothing else. It's not a great big sign, in my opinion.
And you're envisioning a sign like this size
Well,
or?
just,
no?
it's
a
some
line?
words,
Some words,
it's some
okay.
words, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So for the signage they're doing for Houston and Ross Park, are you envisioning this being just added somewhere on that groupage
Yeah,
of
like at
signage?
the beginning, like we acknowledge that.
Chronologically.
Yeah, because it's kind of
Mhm,
chronological.
mhm.
Yeah, that's my vision.
As
but
opposed to a whole separate
Oh, no,
document,
it's not
yes.
its whole.
Christina, since you're the board's representative for that working group, would you mind taking this language back to them and conveying that?
Sure, because.
Should we pick one?
Okay, yeah, we'll work on the language, all right, and then we'll talk about incorporating. So do you want to review that then, Christina?
so you've got
That's who
a-
you are, right?
These are just-
Well, and also for some of those folks that the ancestors are, date back, some of them may have even had kind of Indian heritage as well. So, it might be important to talk to them first before we decide which particular one or anything.
I guess we could talk to everybody about it, but yeah, however you guys want to do it. I just think.
Well, I think your focus is more on the Native American and the tribes that were here long before any generational families. So we're already acknowledging the generational families. We've named the park That way, we're having signage put up. This is more like acknowledging, even before any families were here, there were indigenous people that were here.
There were these families here.
Yes.
And for thousands of years, not for,
Yeah.
I personally
broadens
love
the
the first
timeline.
one. Of all of the quotes, I love the first one the best.
Very good.
I
It's just
agree.
nice and simple. And you
Nice
can
and
add the
simple.
three in there, and you can spell Catawba if you'd like to, if you can get those letters to work, because I couldn't, you did.
Mhm.
I think that's the best one.
It's not that hard to say. It's
Yeah.
So it's the Shirala, Catawba, and the Waxhaw.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is, and I think it's the same for Marvin Eford as well. So if we get
When
around
we
to
put
talking about
something else
signage there.
Okay,
Uh,
that's great. That's
And
very.
if you can write the Catawba, the
Right way.
Manuye Ishua, that would be great, because I don't know how you got, one of those letters I could
Oh.
not make happen on my computer, but
which is which?
it's the whole thing,
This whole
Manu
thing's
Ye
Catawba.
Ishua, yeah. It means the people of the river.
I'm questioning the colon, but okay.
Yeah, I know, I agree with you. And once this is settled, yeah, I would do it the other way around, Catawba in the print, just like you had it down there. Once this is settled, I would still like to take it back to, at the bottom of, when you do your search,
Mhm.
you can link back into each of these, tribal nations and make sure that they like the way this looks. Probably be shocked. Yeah,
And I don't know if there is other ways of saying Shiraz and Waxhaw.
no, they've stuck with theirs, at least based on this, on the research I did. But that's another reason to send this back and say,
I'll format this and Christina, I'll send it back to you to take to the group, okay?
Okay, thank you.
thanks.
All
That was
right.
easy.
Well, you
I
did.
knew I didn't need 10 minutes.
Well, thank you for getting that.
Well, that's
Good.
because you
Yes.
guys are easy.
Thank you, Christine.
Okay. Great. Okay, next item up is the consideration. I think we still talk about this grass plan. I thought we had.
It does
covered
look better.
last,
It looks better out
okay.
there now.
So tell us, what we've got sod, right? And then we are.
Yeah,
no
we got
longer-
sod on the
Mhm,
event lawn
mhm,
and so as long as we can keep it watered, April was a challenge.
Yeah.
I don't know what the irrigation
Mhm.
situation is out there. but-
Yeah, I can give you a little update on that and perhaps others, but we do have some serious irrigation problems right now that we're having to look into a number
On
of.
both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, too much in some spots and not enough in others. And it really seems to be an issue with the capacity of the current well, which is why we're having to kind of focus on moving it around and doing only certain zones and areas at a time. So I think right now the focus is more on just the new stuff and not as much the roundabout and things. We're hoping with the rains that we've gotten that those kind of are established and help themselves along a little bit better. But it is over the past week or two, we've been kind of honing in on what the actual issue is and finding ways to address it. One of the ways that we're also going to address it, hopefully, is by adding a pump to the cistern, which is something that we
I
had
thought that
previously
was part
spoken
of
about.
the project originally, because we spent so much time in the working group or subcommittee or whatever it was, talking about that cistern, providing that and talking about the pump being in it, that I was under the impression that was like part of the project. So to find out that that
Yeah.
wasn't actually, implemented, it was just sort of allowed for,
Yeah.
was kind of a surprise. So yeah, hopefully we can.
Yeah, and hopefully that, it's effective, but we are moving in that direction, I think.
Okay.
So what we're looking for today is generate this plan for the rest of the property.
Right, for this side.
Because we're already taking care of the grass conversion with East Cross. But for the rest of the park, this is what Jen wrote. I don't know if you guys had time to review this, but I'm looking for you all to make a recommendation. So
And my mic was not on. Jen wrote this plan for the rest of the Village Hall site, excluding Houston Ross, since we've already converted the grass over there for the most part. But I am looking for you guys to make a recommendation on this today. So we can work on this a few minutes and make edits where we need to. But I'd like you guys to make a motion to recommend this so I can get it to council. And that way we have a document to refer back to that's approved whenever we're doing work on the site.
Well, and I've already read it, so
Yeah, and for those who haven't, really the gist of it is what we've discussed previously, is that in general, the very first part of it is, in general, we do not recommend turf grass at all. It has the environmental equivalent of a Twinkie. So.
So if
turf
it doesn't
grass-
taste as.
Put that
Yeah,
in
it doesn't
minutes,
taste as good.
please.
So turf grass should be limited to only uses where foot traffic is required. If, if uniform visual field and open visual field is required, there are a lot of other ground covers that can suffice beyond turf grass that do not need mowing, edging, weeding, fertilizing, and copious amounts of water. So turf grass is really only indicated where you're anticipating foot traffic. And
Turf
so-
grass is also really uncomfortable. It gets so hot
Yeah.
in the hot summer months, like burn your feet hot. You don't even want to sit on it. It's brutal.
Well, sometimes, yeah, and it, you know,
I don't have any.
and drainage wise, it's just a slight bit above like, you know, concrete or pavers, you know, so
You're talking, excuse me, you're talking fescue.
I'm talking about any turf grass,
I think
Bermuda,
you're talking- I think
fescue.
maybe, Joe, you were talking about.
I
turf
thought you were talking
like-
about artificial
Yeah, she
turf.
was-
No, not,
that's
no,
what
no.
Okay, okay. I was
I'm
going to
talking
say
about-
that stuff
She was
is
talking
No,
about-
no, you're right, that stuff is hot, but no, we're talking
We're not putting
about
artificial though.
anything that you would typically associate with a
Mow.
lawn.
That you would
um,
mow.
That you would mow like that is really not recommended. It's just a drain on our
Resources.
facilities resources, and it's super not necessary unless you're gonna have foot traffic. So the gist of this is, first off, let's not do a lot of turf grass ever for any reason. And unless you need the foot traffic. And the gist of this plan is let's not make it a targeted project in and of itself to remove everything that's mowed out here. Like we'll just keep the status quo and replace it intentionally and consciously every time we have a project that covers a different area. And so I listed out some of the anticipated projects that we know are coming up, Marvin Loop, the memorial and stuff like that. And so that when those landscape plans for those things come back through, only where we're anticipating foot traffic will we put turf grass. And then there's a very brief suggestion of other ground covers, non-exclusive, but just to give an idea when and people are talking about it of other options other than grass that give you that open visual field of low plants and the uniformity of you know, that grass gives you.
Yeah, of the grass-like plants that we put on here, probably muley grass, everybody is thinking
Familiar
of
with.
that one.
Yep.
That one gets about this big and kind of clumpy, and little blue stem gets like that, but it's more straight up, but the rest of them are quite low. You don't want to
Yeah.
step on them, but I mean, Nimblewell, you can walk on.
It was just some of them, some of them can tolerate a little bit of foot traffic. And although Christina did not really want me to include any non-natives.
I was getting there.
No, and I acknowledge
And
that.
you took the green and gold, no, not green and gold, the creeping Jenny.
Creeping
out.
Jenny off. Creeping Jenny, you're right. It roots so readily that it would be potentially invasive. I left the ajuga on there because I've never seen it come up somewhere where I don't want it. Its aggressiveness is very, very,
It's slow.
it's slow and it's very easy to manage with lack of water and heat. So
We've got that.
yeah, exactly. So I left some non-natives on there because, you know, while, you know, I do like to go eat Chinese food once in a while, you know, like variety is great. And that's pretty much it. So the only one that is on here that is like, let's do it now as soon as resources are available is that there's a patch of grass right here in this planting bed and under this tree out front. And those would be the only two that I would say, let's make that a project, get rid of those, replace it with mulch. Because we don't have any other planned landscaping activity that will otherwise supplant that. And it's really not in keeping with the pollinator garden or any of that.
If that can happen this fiscal year, I've got quite a good amount of money left in landscape mulching to just knock it out and get it done.
And I think.
Yeah, perfect. Just
State
a short
Mountain
roundup,
is
scrape
viable.
it.
Sweet.
Yeah, so some roundup, scrape it off, replace these two bits of mulch, and then that line item is done.
That's great.
And it makes managing those two beds infinitely easier.
Yeah, they won't have to touch them at all.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah.
Well, once we replace that with a little few more plants to fill that
And I
out.
might have some for you.
Yeah, to replace the ones that didn't make it from previous seasons. So in any event, that is this document.
And thank you, Jen, for writing that. That's a
Really well done.
lot of good information.
You know, Austin, I was just gonna think about, one of the things, this is a great educational piece of material, and as we are, you know, and you're in the different, Marvin Wise, we put different education pieces, a lot about the habitat. This would be one I think a lot of people in the community would like to know, you know, how to replace grass.
That hint, Christina, Habitat Builders section.
Or
You
just.
know, I
you
could
know,
do, I could do turf replacements or something like
Yeah,
I
that.
need somebody to come to my house and do this for me.
Right?
Right.
But every time I'm in the garden at the park, somebody's like, will you come to my house and do this? I'm like, no.
But I think it's also good, not only are we educating, I think it's also good to make a statement around what the village is doing as far as conservation and better use of resources too. So kind of put it as, this is what we're
A little
doing
bit
for
of
our
this.
parks, and then this is what you can do for your,
Mhm,
and call Jen and Christina for some additional.
Does
But-
does anyone have anything else regarding the plan they want to talk about? Anything we need to revise, change, further discuss?
And she's right, that there are more plant options, but at some point I stopped and she stopped going, about it, because there are plenty more things if.
The
this
only
is-
thing I would add to this, I was thinking about it actually as I drove here this morning, is a not use list, which would be very short. It would be
Oh.
no English IV.
Thank you. Please, we need to add that. Thank you. I can help you make that one.
But if we
Okay.
add those words, no English IV ever under any circumstances whatsoever.
Well, for that matter, or privet or automobile.
Well, privet's not a ground cover, so.
No,
So
true.
do you guys know all the plants you'd want to put on this list right now? Would you want to take time to research that?
I
Or-
wouldn't delay this for that. This is just
Let's
a,
add the do not of ivy and vinca.
okay, do not IV and do not Vinca.
Can one of y'all just send me,
Yeah,
if you guys want to send me a few more things to add for the do not list?
Send you the.
But those are the two big ones, and the rest of this is not, like I said, it's not an exclusive list. It's just an exemplar kind of.
And this is a plan. This is not an ordinance. This is
That's what I was
not
gonna say,
law.
where does it get
Exactly.
documented?
This is high level,
It's
is
a
the rest of
reference
the
Right, it's
material.
reference, it
It's
doesn't
guidance.
Published or.
Guidance, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
guidance is a really good term. There are a lot of other things that could be used, but if somebody needed to grab for a name in a short span of time, these would be fine.
Thank you for bringing up the English ivy thing, but I am going to add periwinkle to it as well, and I'll get you. the right
Think a
one.
minor and major?
So
Yes.
if the board is good, I would ask that someone make a motion to recommend approval of the Marvin Village Hall Grass Conversion Plan as presented with an additional do not plant list.
Okay, I make a motion as
So
Austin
moved.
stated, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moved.
All right.
Great.
Thank
Thank you very much, Jen. You have really done a great job. And Christina, as always, to really
Mhm.
give us guidance and to help direct us.
And as I'm going through these documents, I'll try to get them all out to you as soon as I can. I'll wait for you guys to get me the do not plant list before I do the final formatting for
I'm
this
sending
one.
it right now.
Overachiever.
I'm just, well, if I don't do it now, you know how that goes.
Okay. Can I move on then,
Mhm.
Austin?
Yeah.
Next item up is update on the Houston Ross Park. There's 3 items I want to cover today. Some, as far as some key decision making that we need to do, but also just kind of as a whole can talk about, we can all observe the work being done and certainly coming along. John's mentioned the irrigation piece, the sod is in place. Again, before we jump into these quick topics, is there any additional plantings, I think from Christina's perspective out there that's still a work in progress?
Yeah, so the butterfly garden, that was underwater, so everything else was dry as a bone, but all the water was sitting in the butterfly garden. Looks like most everything has survived. We're missing 3 plants, well, missing, they were just delayed. And Chris Estes, who's the supervisor there, is trying to get a date for those. They should have been in already, and they're not. So we'll add those when we get them, and then we'll
Mhm.
baby them because it'll be too hot.
Okay.
But if you see area that's like, why is there just mud here? Well,
Hmm.
that's why.
Okay.
Because there's supposed to be plants.
Okay.
But I also have some extras
Mm.
that once everything is kind of signed off, I'm gonna stuff the garden with a bit more because
Mhm.
I have extras in there.
We also, you and I should get together and do that, because we also need to divide the irises.
Yeah,
We can spread those around. a little
exactly.
bit.
And,
There's-
and
There's
so-
some maintenance to be done around.
So to that point, if they don't go in that butterfly garden, they're not going in the rain garden, it's stuffed full.
Yeah.
Then, and there's not really another place to put them. I would like to bring some back on this side to kind of bring the 2 sides together.
Oh, no, I
And
totally
make that
agree. Like, we definitely have some plants that did not survive here and also in this strip
Well,
over
that monkey
here.
grass needs to,
Yeah, the monkey grass needs to go, but
so I can sleep.
so
at night.
so we have some blank areas that we could need to backfill from plants that didn't make it or were never
Okay.
installed in the first place.
Yeah.
So we can fill in.
So it sounds
definitely
like
with
the
So
those.
we've been
two,
talking
the
about
2 of you are going to help, and if you need extra hands, but really kind of, our landscapers are, excuse me, are pretty much done. It's kind of now on the hands of.
They've got,
our-
I don't, they're not done, they haven't signed off on things yet, I think. I don't know.
Okay. I
don't think so.
Where the end of it
Okay.
is. It seems like it's never gonna end, and I feel like they
Okay.
probably think the same thing, right? They're like,
The Houston Ross Park?
Mhm.
Yeah, we're still going back and forth about some things that the contractor needs to adjust and correct and
Concrete pad and stuff like that.
yeah, I actually just found out about that yesterday. And if we're gonna be coming in and doing some things with concrete, I think Christine is trying to look at maybe adding another ADA spot. So we're gonna, just so we can maximize and mobilize once. So, but we're getting there. There's light at the end of the tunnel. We're getting there.
Same way, he's
Okay.
like, we're almost done.
And I
Almost
don't,
done.
and Austin, I know time wise, I don't want to take us too far, but I just kind of as a whole, it seems like the progression of our landscaping is as we would be expected. There's some more pieces to be done
Mhm.
and the irrigation is going to be.
Yeah.
I just had two quick updates if we could on there's a water feature too, which I don't know making sure, do we have a decision on that? Is there a timing?
That contract has been executed.
Okay,
So I don't know I don't know the timeline now, but we should know more in theory soon. So,
Okay.
okay, so
but
there
it has been signed.
We do have
It was sent
approval.
back to the vendor for them to sign, I believe, yesterday. So
Cool.
Okay.
we're waiting on, yeah.
Okay, and then the other piece, and again, this kind of all ties into also as we're doing our signage, knowing that we'll have a water feature. We're also going to be doing that covered pergola type piece that's being done by our Public Works team. Is that correct?
Yeah,
And-
we're building.
And
that
that's
now.
been ordered already.
Okay, okay, great. So those are the two other additions in addition to the garden landscape.
And that's gonna really, because it's kind of a
Balance it.
little, yeah,
Yes.
it's a little blank right
Mhm,
now. And I hope that when they walk in, they'll look at the pergola and not the generator,
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, while it's trying to be covered.
One thing we can quickly knock out, and Christina, you can jump in with me here. For the ribbon cutting ceremony, last night's meeting, Mayor Pro Tem Martin noted that right now we're looking at possibly September 26th for a ribbon cutting ceremony. They were discussing Saturday, September 19th. We have a car show that day, and Public Works will have their attention focused there. So possibly looking at shifting to a different date, just so that there's more staff resources.
Okay, so and that topic one was to see, make sure, first off, is that staff could support it. Second, is there anything else as far as obviously the family who's being honored? We want to make sure their key representatives are going to be there. And John, you might have some other perspective too when we're there.
Yeah, and we may get into this further, but I understand that you'll be at the meeting that's supposed to be going on later this evening.
Mhm.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just wanted to confirm that because
Yeah.
that was something Angel and I had discussed
Yeah.
kind of
Wanna make
also
sure we're
around the signage and
staying
stuff like
loop.
that.
So, yeah.
That's the
and this-
meeting around signage tonight, or is that happening right now?
It's well, my understanding is there's a walkthrough this evening with the Historical Society and the family members of the Houston Ross to talk about the signage. But kind of precedent is we need to have this discussion here first, so we are on the kind of directionally page.
Yeah, I know, I was just curious because I thought Mayor Pro Tem Martin mentioned she was meeting with the descendants this morning to go over some sign stuff.
I think it's tonight.
It's tonight. Okay, I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So just briefly on the ribbon cutting ceremony, and this is where I was talking in our events earlier. Obviously it's a cutting ceremony to honor the family. Are we also envisioning this as a park event? I know years ago when Eford Park opened, we had a big town event. You know, we bust people in, there's activities. It was kind of recognizing the new asset to the village. Is there a consideration for that, or is this ribbon cutting really just the naming? And we can talk about, do we need to have some sort of event to welcome people into our new park in addition to?
I do think that's the idea of it. The only difference is it's my understanding that it just won't be a community event thrown by the village. It will be a collaboration, but it's my understanding that the Historical Society is really going to be the ones planning the bulk of the event. But I do think that the premise of it is to have it be open to the community and celebrate the opening of the park and Marvin's history and all of that. But from what I've heard, and I haven't seen a plan for it, I do know that one of the churches has offered their parking lot and shuttle to help back and forth. I've heard that there might be some tents put up. I don't know much else yet, but
I was going to say, that's probably, Christina, something that you have a
find out,
conversation
yeah.
about, and whether that's the meeting tonight that has the descendants in attendance, or whether it's a separate meeting you set up just kind of for discussion about that. I was at the Wounded Heroes event that was here last Sunday, and they did an amazing job. It was set up very well, but one thing that was highly evident was our lack of parking. So they did run a shuttle between here and Marvin Elementary School. It was just one van, so they were only bringing 10, 16 people at a time or whatever it was. But it was it was a doable way to do something like that. Yeah, I don't think it should be us or the Historical Society kind of throwing the thing. I think it should be more of a collaboration
For
where,
sure.
where, things get approved because, they don't necessarily understand all the kind of guardrails we typically have to work with. And it's great if the church can donate, part of the shuttle or something like that. That might save us having to pay for one, and they can get pretty expensive. But yeah, I wouldn't see it as the Marvin Day thing or not Marvin Day, the grand opening that was done many, many years ago at Marvin Eford. But I think it is something that we want to recognize and publicize throughout the village.
I will just add, Christina, since you're going to be probably you and Mayor Pro Tem Martin will be the biggest liaisons between the village and the other collaborators. It's just important to note that this is a odd situation where we did budget financially to support the event and cover the expenses of most of it, I believe. So I just need to make sure that I'm being looped in because
Yes.
to Councilman Barrisage's point, there are guardrails that I need in place. Like if we're going to be hiring event planning staff or people to be setting up tents and things like that, typically I need to set them up as a vendor if I'm going to be paying them. I need to make sure they have workers' comp and liability insurance. These are things that most people don't think about, but I think about them in my role. So
that, and
yeah,
I'll-
just making sure I'm in the loop, especially if we need to get quotes or purchase orders, or I need to start paying for things.
And you'll share with me the budget too, I assume that.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I'll have to look at what we put in there, but yeah, just collaborating. I don't know if the plan is for them to pay for things and then submit for reimbursement, or if they want me to pay for things. I'm sure I'll be looped in when the time comes, but yeah, just making sure that I'm on the front side of some of that so we don't run into an issue, and on the backside.
No, absolutely.
That everybody knows the budget.
Right. So I think, and maybe I kind of just to clarify, because we've talked a little bit about this, just as John mentioned, there is the group within the Historical Society that's helping drive a lot of the discussions with the family members, but a subcommittee has been formed. We are trying to make sure we stay. So I'm sorry, what's the term?
Working group.
Working group,
It's an
sorry.
internal working group.
Okay.
Subcommittee just implies it's formal with
Gotcha, I'm sorry.
agendas, minutes,
Okay.
notices.
So it's a working group, and as Jill mentioned, Mayor Pro Tem is on that, as well as myself, to work and continue to bring things back. And as we talk about the signage, the real intent here is that we're getting ideas from everywhere as we plan for the event, as we plan for signage from obviously the family members, the Historical Society, PR&G, as always, has had a big part in planning parks and events, and we definitely want to have that discussion today, as well as, our council members too. They all been part of this. Is a village asset that we're introducing, and we want to make sure we have a
For sure.
a comprehensive view of that. So
I can tell you that the budget that we set for this line item is $5,000, but that's not just for this ribbon cutting. That also includes any expenses we will have to throw Arbor Day. And then typically we leave a little bit of margin for a pop-up, any type of pop-up event that we may choose to have. So
So it might be useful for you with the experience to say, this is the budget for the ribbon cutting.
yeah,
Yeah, whatever that number is. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but.
yeah. I'll have to go back and,
See
well,
what
I'll
you
need some
for the
guidance on
other
what you guys
things.
think you need for Arbor Day.
Yeah.
Oh, we need a tree or three.
Mhm.
Couple of trees.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
It depends on what we want to do. for
Go-
Okay.
um,
We'll work backwards.
To make sure you have a little piece for the, so,
trees.
going back then to the ribbon cutting. So the 26th right now, I understand, is the proposed date. At this point, staff is
They're checking with the
Checking.
descendants to make sure.
checking with the descendants, but our staff can support that date.
So it's really not an event that's going to be mandatory for internal staff. Unfortunately, Public Works staff was not available on the 26th either. And I know that's disappointing, but it's difficult for us to ask Public Works staff to work back-to-back weekends. I mean, they have families and they want weekends. So because they're already working the 19th, it would have been a really, really long day for them to try to do both events at once. Most of them did not want to come back and work 2 weekends in a row. So Matt has offered to make himself available because I live here. I've offered to make myself available. Christina doesn't really think we need more than 2 staff members because it doesn't seem to be like it's going to be something that's super involved, but we will be asking whatever staff internally, the staff that work within Village Hall, who wants to come and help out and assist, but it's not going to be something that's mandatory. Right now, we have at least 2.
And I think one of the other things that we've discussed and will be discussing over the coming months is, not necessarily replacing Tyler, we've had discussions about volunteers, and coordinating volunteers better. So this may be also another opportunity to tap into some of the volunteer folks that we have that are available. No, you volunteer for enough.
And I think obviously, I think it would be great to invite planning board, if any of them want to come and volunteer that day, obviously you guys as well. So I think between our boards and the people that serve the village, and the Historical Society is going to have, they have their own team. So I feel like we'll have a lot of help.
So we'll have the help. And then John, I assume council or Mayor Barbara, I don't know schedule wise, but are they planning to be there?
Yeah, I'm
I mean,
sure.
I
I'm
mean,
sure.
sure they would be, but
Yeah.
just okay.
But that date is still tentative, so.
Tentative based on the family's feedback,
Right.
and then we will go from there. So we'll mark that. And I absolutely expect PRG, when available, to be participating and helping and planning for that event. The next 2 items really tie to signage. The first one is a little bit more straightforward. It's the entrance sign. Last meeting, we talked about what kind of signage are we going to have for Houston Ross to identify the park. And we were saying kind of use the same standards that have been done at Eford Park. And then Austin, maybe you can walk us through, because there's been some iterations around what the sign would look like. And I didn't realize actually that Eford had its own brand with the
Yeah.
barn.
Give me one second. So
But you drive by it all the time, you probably just don't even.
I just saw
Don't
Eford.
even
Didn't-
register
we
anymore.
actually replaced this sign after after we adopted the,
Logos.
yeah.
Yeah.
And sorry, it's,
And it's based on the barn.
it is,
Weather vane.
Mhm.
it's based on the barn, the weather vane on top of the barn. There's my mouse. Okay. Somewhere. Okay. Yeah. And it's keeps the certified wildlife habitat designation on there.
But also the structure that it
Hangs from.
hangs,
Yeah.
from, that looks nice too.
Yeah,
I think it
this
looks
was
fun.
actually was a scout project, but
Mhm.
when we had our wayfinding and branding plans done, the vendor loved the structure and said you should keep this as part of your your signage plan. And so in our adopted plan, a very similar structure to this is used. So this would be the structure that we would propose to be used for
With just a different name and.
Yep, and I have a mock-up of that in your
A
packet.
slightly smaller scale, because this is on the side of the road, right?
Well, if you were to put this one on Marvin School, you would probably want something similar size. just
Okay.
Because people are driving by. If you were to do a smaller version off Newtown, since it's been pedestrian for the most part, there's not an actual driveway entrance there. You could do something smaller. I took so let me close this one.
So we're talking 2 signs, like you said, something has to be on the Newtown side because you walk by it.
Well, that's up to you guys.
Yeah, but
Nothing
that's a
has to be
question.
there.
And
Well, I
then-
think there should be where we come on, where
Where you-
Marvin Loof gets installed.
Yes, that makes sense. And then
Yeah, I would do this one
Mhm.
and not worry about the next. the other one until it was-
till.
Before I show you the mock-up that we did for Houston Ross Park, I don't know if you guys remember Ptolemy that was here. We did work with her to do a custom logo for the park based on the Houston Ross families. We sent a couple variations of these concepts to Mayor Pro Tem Martin for her to take back to the descendants in the Historical Society. Unfortunately, they did not like what we came up with, so we killed the project. But I will show you what those look like, just for the sake of transparency here. So we did a couple variations with the Ross sisters and Mitty Bell as a girl, with a monarch, and then some adult versions.
One of the things I'm wondering is, this and Marvin Eford Park will be our main parks, Then we've got Pocket Park over near Publix, Pocket Park that's going to be over near Heritage at Marvin. And I'm wondering if, just for consistency's sake, we might even adopt the Marvin Eford logo, but for any of our parks.
I wouldn't recommend it just because the icon is a feature from Marvin Eford Park.
Yeah, the barn.
Okay.
I see where you're going with that. Like that's the park.
We have-
But it's really specific.
We have a generic Parks and Rec logo. I wouldn't recommend using it for this sign here because Marvin Village Hall is here. This is one complex. It'll be the park and Marvin Village Hall. This was a mock-up I did just
Okay.
using our standard tree logo,
like the
same
tree here.
font. It keeps things simple.
Yeah,
So
that,
if none of the custom logos worked, this is probably what we would default to.
Honestly,
Something-
that would be like a general park
Mhm.
sign, yeah?
Yeah.
And you can still leave
And I'm
Eford
fine
like
with
it
it.
is because it's the first
Yeah.
and the biggest and all that.
Mhm.
And the rest of them could look like this and we could check them out.
yeah, I just didn't know if we wanted to get into individual
Not-
logos
yeah.
for everything, you know?
It's.
Agree.
There's not a standardized practice for doing this. Often you want to do a custom logo if a place has a strong identity. Like you go to the park, you see the barn. It's a feature. It's the feature of the park. If we have other parks in the future that have a distinguishing feature, a historical structure, a prominent water feature, that would be something to focus a logo on, for example.
I think this
We
is
tried
good.
with the historical aspect for Houston Ross, but they didn't really, we were told the
But I think
logos weren't
this-
authentic.
This also
I think
covers the
this gets
tree.
us-
And we got a
yeah,
big
it
tree.
gets
Yeah,
back
I-
to
Yeah.
I feel comfortable with this
Yeah, I
one
like
as
it.
well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to make a motion to approve
No.
this? No, this is.
Unless you want to, you can if you'd
Oh,
like.
I mean, this is just a recommendation that we're going to bring the council, or has this already, I mean, just make sure I
Well,
understand, John, the
I think
process.
let's hold off on making any recommendations again. This will be another something that, you know, this is primarily our decision, but
Right.
but I think it's something that you want to run through the larger group,
Okay,
you know, when you
sure.
speak them later
So-
today as well.
I will send this mock-up to
Mhm.
you, Christina, to take back.
I can bring.
And I gotta make a list of all the things I gotta send you, actually.
But with the idea that as we name or publicize our two pocket parks,
Mhm.
we're gonna use a similar sign. This is the part, I mean, I don't mean the logo necessarily, but the structure
Yeah,
and
this
the
look-
the
yeah.
words and all
Correct.
that.
Or for like a smaller park that doesn't really have a distinguishing feature like the one at Publix.
Mhm.
You probably could just use the Marvin Parks and Rec logo. I'd have to go see how Waxhaw does it, but I'm pretty sure they use their Parks and Rec logo on some of their park signage. I would need to double check though.
But I think specific to your question,
Mm-hmm.
yes, so the size, the hanging mechanism, the
Mhm.
fonts, the layout,
Yeah.
Mhm.
the gold thing around the logo, like,
That's
that's
what
gonna be
we're-
the same on
The
all
consistency
the
there.
signs.
Yep.
And the only thing that might change is the logo,
Mm-hmm.
but this could be our default logo for
Cause hopefully there's a
whenever
tree
we
and all
don't have something.
Unless it's our pickleball
And
court.
the fonts, by the way, are adopted fonts from our branding style.
Exactly, yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Everything that you can
Mhm.
standardize,
Mhm.
we should.
And just to make.
No, and
clarify-
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I think
So-
that we can definitely,
Agree on the
I
standard.
mean, yeah, I think.
I like
that's-
that this is the default.
Right, and
Yeah.
I think that's important from the village hall.
And that we only,
decision.
and that this is the
Mhm.
default,
Mhm.
including the logo, unless we have a reason to
Mhm.
have a different.
I like that, I like that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Is- I
And
mean, I
Marvin
think
Eford is
I'm
a good
restating what I think I'm hearing you
So-
stating, so am I
You're
right?
good at that.
Okay.
I want to make sure I ask the question, is that now I'm just looking at this wording, because I always focused on Houston Ross. This is saying Village Hall and Houston Ross Park, because we're putting it out on the street, so you know you're actually, it's not just the park sign, this
It's a
is real,
twofer.
this is the Village Hall, thank you.
Yeah.
So it kind
Yeah.
of just clicked there that we're not.
But isn't it nice that
mhm.
our village hall has a
Mhm.
card?
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah,
only
just-
other logo we could.
Can I
use
ask
is
a
the actual Village
question?
Hall logo, but.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to have Marvin Parks and Rec on this sign?
That's,
Because I mean,
I feel like,
technically Houston Ross Park is Parks and Rec, but Village Hall is not. And so I'm just
Yeah,
wondering
I,
if that could come off.
on is,
But the park is right above it, I feel like that's still, if this is a park sign,
I'm okay with it because I think it also kind of, it's almost separated where it ties into the certified wildlife habitat
otherwise
because
it's not
that
gonna have
is
just that there.
part of something that we're trying to do with any of our pocket parks or things like that is have them all certified.
I
and,
agree. Mhm.
and the village hall sits in a park basically because of the work that you did the first round with all the plants around here
Mhm.
and all the other things that are going on. And then the work that Chris's group did over there, This is a
This
park.
is a park.
Yeah.
You've got, and you've got the Wounded Heroes Monument going on the other
Monument,
side.
And the
Right.
monument, that's.
And then you'll
that's-
have, and then you have the loop going in around. It's like
Exactly.
everything around the building is being changed.
Yeah,
And,
no,
um,
I think
yeah.
we basically have a village hall in a park,
Mhm.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Weddington is going after that approach right
Go
now too
us.
on their own. They're trying to build a.
We might have a butterfly before it's over.
This was like I said, this was a quick mock-up.
Mhm.
I can work on one that's more formal. I'm not as graphically talented, but I can work.
Get it? But this
Well,
gives
we
the-
get the,
yes,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah,
the
we get the
replica of
gist.
One over at
Yes.
Eford with a
Yeah.
different logo.
But once
And-
like we go to produce
Mhm.
this, I don't need to have something better than this.
Yeah, exactly. So,
All
you know,
right.
the only question now is like, you know, which logo,
Mhm.
and I think the consensus here is that if a specific logo for this didn't pass muster with the Historical Society, who we're, you know,
This is our
hoping to
default.
honor,
This is
then
our
this is our
default.
default.
And it's a
logo.
lovely default because that, I am
Mhm.
sure, is a white oak tree, which is the best tree.
It's,
Yes.
if I don't, Christina, you were on the branding committee.
think
Do you remember which tree this was based off of?
Is it one that, it's down, I don't know where it is.
It was based off the tree that's in front of Banks Presbyterian
Okay.
specifically.
Yeah, and I believe that's a white oak. Either way.
So we will present this to the family today, just to share what we're doing, but this is also part of the village hall, so this is, I would think, driven a lot by the folks here too. But we will also talk about location, so proposed location for this is the one, it could either be here in the parking lot in front of the park or on the road, but since it says village hall, I would think it needs to be on the road, otherwise you don't see it, right?
You'd want the sign to be able to draw people's attention as they're
Yeah, this
driving
is
by.
on the
So you
road.
would
So this
want
needs
one,
to be out on the
you
road.
would want one by Marvin School, and then if you
Mhm.
wanted a smaller one for like more pedestrian, you'd do it at the end of at the end of the path.
But I would wait
Mhm.
until that was all.
Okay.
That would be a later thing.
Gotcha.
This is, I would focus
Yeah,
people.
we would
And
put that as part of the Marvin Loop project. to
yes,
get that
good
sign.
point.
Okay.
And then we can worry about how big it is.
Mhm.
This is at where the parking lot, where we
Gotcha.
come in.
So we
It
would
should be
be,
ready for the ribbon cutting and the whole.
yes,
Yes.
that's beautiful. So that will be one
This is
sign.
not an expensive, this would not be an expensive thing to build.
Really.
The sign itself, I think I think the sign's like $500. It's not bad for a sign, for $500. it's
No,
not
no,
bad.
you're right. You're
So
right.
this could actually get put in
fair.
potentially before some of the next topic we're talking about, the signage, the historical signage, which may take more time. This is actually something, if we approve, we could go ahead and get that underway.
Yeah.
We'd have to just make sure we have the funds, but yes.
Mhm.
Actually, that would be really nice because I think a lot of people don't even know that
Right.
this is
This
over
would,
here.
it'd be a good way to start getting folks, familiar
Yeah.
with that too, so.
We have a village hall.
Okay. Any more discussion on the entrance sign then? Just make sure we have time for the others. But really
That's
great work.
fine.
I
We
thank
don't
you
have
for
a
all
village
the
hall sign.
collaboration on this and I feel like we've got a good plan ahead.
It's right on the building.
No need to make a recommendation, correct?
I wouldn't say yet.
Okay.
Talk it over with your group.
Mhm.
I've still got, like I said, I got to get this in its final format, and then I'll put something on one of your future agendas just to, so y'all can,
But this is
check the
a,
box.
this is a village decision,
Yes,
Right,
this is,
yeah.
the property is owned by the village.
just putting it in the.
Right,
record.
so we'll share with the family members, but this isn't, this is the village hall sign. It's really for the village,
It's for the entire site, the entire.
the
This
entire
site.
site, yeah.
That's like,
Gotcha.
yes, good job.
Okay, and our last topic specific to signage is going to be around the historical signage for recognizing the Houston Ross family and the history there. Last meeting, we talked about options around how we can best represent it. The families are working on the actual verbiage and writing this up with the Historical Society, talking about the court case, the family history, and Minnie Bella herself. So there's documentation being done specifically by the Historical Society.
Christina, do you want me to pull this up now?
Yeah, that'd be great. So I just to kind of remind folks from last month, we talked about the initial thought, the Historical Society walked through and suggested putting some of the wayside signs along the path, multiple, so you'd have kind of a historical walkthrough. As you recall, we went afterwards and walked out there and thought that might be a lot of signage given the space that we have to work with. And we're trying to propose other ideas on how to best capture the history. So I think what I'd like to do today is, with recommendations that come out of this group as well as feedback from others, come up with a plan of where we see the signage most appropriate to recognize the history, but also tie into the overall feel of the park. And I think it's important because folks like, well, all of us here in the last year and a half have to help think about the feel of the park, right? It's a passive park, the nature aspects of it all. How does these signs complement the park as opposed to just putting them in for informational sake? So I think that's a kind of a thought in mind is when we were designing the park, how do we envision the signs enhancing the experience?
Enhancing, yes.
So
thank you.
just a few things, I know we can all read this, but thoughts around signage because, especially around a park. I mean, part first off is around specificity. How are we representing the events or the persons that took place? And in this case, not all the events took place on this actual land. If this was something like a historical battlefield or a monument, obviously there would be maybe a specific location that the sign needed to be, but this is more just a general, this is an area of Marvin that's being represented in our park. Obviously preventing clutter, making sure that we don't have too many signs, near each other, the right spacing, just so visually you walk in, what is most pleasing to your eye? So we'll think about that. Visibility over volume. And one I like this idea is how do you make sure that you can see the information? Because as we're presenting it, not everyone is going to be taking perhaps a walk through the park, but they might be pulling up to the village hall to do business, to come to a meeting. And if the signs can be readily available, that might be something that a person who's not investing time in the park, but still wants to know the history of the Houston Ross family. So thinking about location of the sign, is it something that you can look at before you walk into the building versus taking a
Some people
stroll?
can't see a sign without reading it.
Mhm.
I live with one.
Oh, I
And
do
so,
too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
whether they were going to the park or not. they're gonna- gotta go.
Exactly. So I think it's
That's a good
also
thing.
an opportunity to put some signage where people, again, folks who may not be spending time in the park can also see the history. And lastly, just, the size and scale, right? If you have a battlefield, you might have dozens. You're at Gettysburg and Williamsburg, where I've spent a lot of time, lots of signage. If you're
And big.
big.
Yeah.
If you're at a 1 acre park, you might just have 1 or 2 signs. So just to think about this, it's not that we're taking away the information, it's just how the information is presented. So any thoughts on that or any other considerations that come to mind when you think about signage?
No, I think these are all spot on. I have had some conversations with Angel about the two different strategies, the multiple signs or what we were introducing, which might be more of like the storyboard, one large storyboard sign. So that's something that you folks can discuss a little bit more tonight and beyond. I will say that I think at one point when we were especially sensitive, I think, to sign pollution, is that there might have been discussion about it being 9 or 10 signs or something like that. I think they've pared that back now to maybe it's 4 or 5 signs. But again, if we're doing something to recognize the Native American tribes, things like that, that might add to that, if we're incorporating it at the same time. So I did just want to share that the number I think has come down, and specifically, I think it's the descendants that have been trying to work on some of that verbiage that hopefully you'll get a better understanding tonight. But no, I think all of these are things to definitely keep in mind, as we're kind of working through this process.
Thank you, John. And I think maybe helpful too, if we have time here, and Austin, if we can scroll ahead, I pulled together some, just visually, so as a group, we can kind of think about where do we think signage looks appropriate? There's really 2 types of options. There's the upright signage, and that was something that Jill helped introduce last week, and we sent some emails on it. And Austin, if you could just slide to the next page there. No, that's okay. No, so just to kind of give you another idea, so because we really have to, there's 2 signs. You either have upright signs or you have what they call wayside signs, which are more you look down on. So there's a couple of pictures here, because I really want you all to think about, if we did an upright sign, it's going to be kind of, you look at it, you see it, but you can also present a lot of information. We don't know how many panels. I mean, the left one here is from the Greenway, but that's specific to, maps and rules. But the second one here is more of a historical panel. If we go to the next slide, that shows the ones at Kingsley where they talk about the Springs family Greenway and such. So this is the idea with this one, is it would be presented maybe more at not the entrance of the parking lot, but
Next.
as you walked in, Austin. That's okay. So that's the part, that's more details of the panels that were done at Kingsley. Again, thinking that this would be a kind of one location, big signage, pictures and pieces on that end. But this would be something, again, you could put all your information in one place. You could put pictures, and I mean, any sign you can put pictures on, but some thoughts, feelings when you see upright signage, any feedback on that? And then we'll go on to the other slides, which are more the wayfinder or
If
the
you have
wayside.
something that's this enormous
Mhm.
in that space,
Mhm.
to me, it needs to be near the trees so
Mm.
that the scale kind of,
Mhm.
if this,
Mhm.
obviously we wouldn't put out in the middle of the grass. Well, I
Mhm.
guess not obviously, but hopefully. But that scale kind of makes me okay with this, but this looks enormous.
Yeah,
And
and
that
this
space is not.
this upper thing doesn't need to be there. That's kind of their own, I think, design or lighting. I was out there and measured it. It's this particular thing was 7 feet by 8 feet. So that's kind of
Yeah.
thinking
So
about.
my suggestion, I mean,
Mhm,
I agree with
mhm.
what you're saying with regard to scale.
Mhm.
We have to have covered seating we talked about the covered seating being over
You're
here.
thinking that?
Mhm.
And so the pergola is already going to be a vertical element. And so if we can keep,
But it-
and I do not want to interfere with their ability to document and have the verbiage that they want. So whether it's 5 signs or 1 big sign or whatever, this isn't about curtailing the history or editing the, what they want to convey. That's totally fine. It's literally just what format is it put on?
Mhm.
You know, index cards or 8.5 by 11, right? So, you know, it's all the
Or
same
7 by
stuff.
8.
But I would want to make sure that whatever they do want to convey can fit on something that would be, I would be in favor of putting it with the covered seating so that if you're sitting, you know, it just, that way we have one sort of area where it's like, this is structure.
Yeah.
They tie together, they're done with the same materials, they look cohesive, maybe something that mirrors our bulletin board out front so that the look is repeated
And
through
takes the eye away from the.
and takes the eye away from the generator, so
Oh,
you're
there you
looking
go.
right, not
Okay.
left.
My generator first.
And
Future
that,
falls.
and that they be integrated sort of as a cohesive visual
like that.
unit. And then if you're passing time on the bench, you have something to read while you're sitting there. And that we just, like, this one had a lot to convey. They filled it with a lot of pictures, so it's very, very big. Ours doesn't have to be any size other than what needs to convey what they need to convey.
But if it's designed with the pergola.
As a,
kind of-
as a unit.
cohesive- Yeah, a unit.
Mhm.
I really like that idea.
And then
Because that's
that's-
exactly where I was envisioning it being, because to your point about people just dropping something off here. They're picking up their Christmas tag or whatever, and they see a sign, I'm telling you,
They
they
will
will
walk
have
to
to
it.
read the sign.
Or they're killing some time and they just only walk that far to sit
Yeah.
on the bench before
Yeah.
a meeting or something like that, then this information is present. And it doesn't have to be one large sign. If we have the pergola, we can have 2 smaller panels on either side and defray some of the
Yeah, but you
visual
got front and
impact.
back. I
And we
mean,
can
maybe not
also-
on that
yeah.
one, but
You
you
could
have
do
the
front and
ability to
back.
do front and back.
You could
How
do front and back, or you could do two smaller ones to the side. So
So this is vertical.
I'm in favor of the one location thing. Even with a number of signs reduced to 5, depending on how large those are. I mean, I like the horizontal
Yeah.
signs. They're a
Think
little
we
less
switch to the
visually
next
interrupting.
I think they were talking about them being 24 by 36, Austin.
Here's some examples of what we
Yeah,
call
similar
wayside
to
signs.
that.
And then the next slide too, I'm just kind of give you thinking, so here's a place where you could put like multiples in a
That is
group.
messy.
So that's, yeah, but I mean, that's the feel, right?
See,
So
if
how
we
do
were
you-
gonna do like 5 signs, I'd only want them to be that big. Like if we have 5 that are 3 feet long.
Yeah,
that's-
I think she mentioned yesterday that the artwork that they had already started sort of planning for and working on was 24 by 36. And I think about 5 of them. So, right? There's about 5 signs.
That feels like a lot of
Well,
space.
I'm gonna say about these signs that we're looking at here that are overlooking something like a battlefield or a really awesome oak tree or whatever. I'm trying to bring it back. There's nothing to overlook. That's a park. The property happened to be part of this story, but there's nothing to look at. So I like the what did you? Upright.
Upright.
The upright signs, because you can tell the whole story. And then you can walk around in the park. They're not, they're kind of not connected. I mean, the ground's connected.
But you're not looking at something or.
There's the old barn. It's not there. Yeah, whatever it used to be here.
I mean, if we have, I think back when we
Probably
were
not.
talking 9 or 10, it was going to look like a Burma Shave ad.
Yeah. See,
Where
I didn't think
you
anybody
just-
would remember what that was.
Maybe I'm really dating myself, but you know, the old highway signs, you know, just
No.
one right after the other.
South of the border.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
south of the
okay.
border. That's
Okay.
the one.
I think what,
No, I don't think it'd be that in any way. When I was speaking to them, there were a couple of reasons why they talked about these as well. The metal posts, I'm not sure if these are exactly the ones that
These were just
she was
ones I
ta-
pulled together.
But this is what she was kind of describing, speaking about Angel. But also, I think one of the things that was attracted to them, and I don't know that this would be any different in the upright, was the ability to potentially change them out or not that you're necessarily going to update them, but just the way things get weather beaten over
Yeah, I
the
think
years and
at
stuff
least
like
the
that.
vendor that we were looking at just for samples does have the ability to slide in and out and
Yeah.
yes.
But the other thing about when I was involved in your meeting, not on purpose, you could eventually access this part from 3 different locations we determined as we were standing there. If you do a chronological story and you access from the wrong side, I guess you can tell it backwards, you know, kind of thing. So if it's all in one spot, you get to read the story in chronological order. To me, that is a huge benefit to one spot for your story.
It's from what I think I heard Mayor Pro Tem Martin say yesterday, I think they might be open to the idea of one single sign. I think it was more that I think it was more about making sure that whatever time they had already spent, correct me if I'm wrong, John, whatever time they had already spent sort of laying out some artwork or some potential ideas, that wasn't wasted. But
Yeah.
even if we go with an upright sign, it seems to me that we should be able to take 24 by 36 foot artwork and put it where it needs to go on an upward sign so that they still control or at least contribute what the artwork kind of looks like, and their work and their artistic creative efforts aren't wasted. I think there's a way to make it work, whatever the sign we
In
choose.
some ways, it's easier because you've got more cohesion. You can sort of tell the story this way.
Yeah, and a
instead of
storyboard.
This has to stand alone, right?
Generally speaking, these sorts of panels, by the way, are not expensive to replace.
Right.
Some, depending on how they're made, you're either it's a solid piece or it's a
Like a phone
high
cord.
quality decal that gets pressed over a surface.
It's what the
Okay.
gator
It's-
board is what.
yeah.
Okay.
a lot of them use.
So your main expense is going to be the actual structure
fixed-
itself. and
yeah.
the install.
Oh, yeah.
And I like the idea of, like you said, with whatever structure, with your consistency with perhaps what's in front of the village hall or something to make it, or the pergola, so that it doesn't look like Kingsley, because that's not what our park looks like. you know,
Yeah, no, I mean,
right, so-
the Kingsley one is a great reference to just say like,
Information, yeah.
there's lots of information on one single board, but
Mhm.
obviously the structure is very different
Mhm.
from what we would target.
Yeah.
Um,
And those individual panels I measured too, they're 5 by 2, so they are pretty, I mean, if we're
Yeah.
talking 3 by
Then
2,
you-
then that's not that far off from, just
They're
stacking
getting
them,
2 of their
right?
panels in
Yes,
one of these.
yes.
I mean, generally
Mhm.
speaking, I would say these horizontal panels are less visually interfering, right? Because,
Mhm.
when looked at from eye level,
Mhm.
they kind of
Disappear.
disappear a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you
But
really
they're
only
in
see
the
them.
middle of things.
But if
we cover
they're,
from
but
the
if we're
generator?
talking 24 by
Can we cover the
36 and
generator?
they're spread
Yeah.
out, I
Put it
feel
from
it's
the
like it's
generator.
going to,
Yeah.
this park just isn't that big. I feel that at that size, it's going to look like buffets at a soup plantation.
Okay.
Like just having lots of big, it's going to look like big tables
Mm.
Yeah, it's
along
just-
the side.
It's busy.
Okay, so I
I
think,
don't think this park is big enough for that if the signs are that size, I guess is my concern.
I'm gonna say, I'll go on record as saying, even if they're this size, whatever that is, that looks pretty small. It's
That's
just
the 8.5 by
busy.
11.
It's just busy and distracting instead of, I want to go over here and read this because I want to know what's going on in this park, and then I'm going to go experience the park. It's
Mhm.
not, a piecemeal thing,
Mhm.
but I'll keep going back to 3 different entrances.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's no order.
And telling a chronological story is difficult,
Mhm.
right? If you were telling a story about this plane or that plane, it doesn't matter. It's no order to that, but
okay.
that's not what we're doing.
These look more to me like they might be 18 by 24
Yeah, they
or
don't
something
look
like that.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah, the ones
don't look
before were
so big.
longer.
Yeah, the ones on the
slide
previous
before, yeah.
slide were much larger. So
Yeah.
depending on the scale,
Mhm.
I mean, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
necessarily unswayable multiple signs, but I think
Yeah.
in general, I'm much more in favor of a single location with a larger,
Mm.
more cohesive
But in
sign.
design
Mhm.
with the
Pergola,
other.
mhm.
With
yeah,
the, with the,
pergola
with the other
stuff.
structure in mind, so
Yeah.
that it all
So
looks,
it looks thoughtful.
yeah, so it just looks,
Okay.
like an
Mhm.
intentional
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the
effort.
word.
Michael, did you have any thoughts on it too? Just as kind of, just another view of walking through the park, what you envision or how you see signage or?
I mean, the thing you talking about Kingsley, like the light thing,
Mhm.
will kind of remind me of like shade, and that'll be like kind of cool if there's like, if it's a big sign, maybe like shade over like a roof or something.
Mm.
Well, if it's with the covered parking, you could do the same thing that you're covering
Mm.
parking,
Cover-
covered seating,
got
the
it.
same kind of
I see.
vineage.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do the same thing there. I think that
Okay.
would be nice.
So as a pergola, it wouldn't be this metal-y thing, but it's something that looks more like a
Mhm.
pergola.
Yeah.
As a cover.
If we made the pergola multiple bays, the center
Yeah.
one is the
Mm.
seating and the side two could both
Mm.
be signage, and then
Hmm.
they're shaded,
That's
and
interesting.
it could
yeah.
even be built in sort of like, octagon or hexagon,
Mhm.
so the two side panels are angled. So it creates like an alcove so that you could actually read the signs from the
So
bench.
it's kind of a tie-in to the pergola is what you're saying.
Yeah, that-
Yeah, exactly. Like it's
absolutely.
like literally like just extend the pergola, have additional
Mm.
bays,
Okay.
and maybe even angle the structure in a
Mhm.
way so that it creates like a
Mhm.
little bay that is like this, like an informational kiosk almost,
Mhm.
but not so kiosky, more
Mhm.
garden ornament.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she does
Okay.
have to leave.
Okay.
Hazmat.
Can I put my
Mhm.
2 cents
Yeah, let's-
worth about
mhm.
what we talked
Mhm.
about? Because this is on the Village Hall property, or it is the Village Hall property, and the butterfly garden of it all here, but the rain garden and this, you and I had talked separately about having something that says something about the environmental
Mhm.
nature
Mhm.
side of this. I'm not trying to make more signs. I'm
Mhm.
just, if.
But no,
it's-
that's a good point, is that we have
And
other
the-
signs that are gonna happen.
Yeah.
You've got your sign, we've got my cognac stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, that, and the
Mhm.
Village Hall, to
Mhm.
say that this is where the Village Hall is and the little bit of history about
At the
that.
entrance sign, we're gonna have a lot of signs.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I'm saying you could put it all together,
Ah.
all of those
On
things
another
in
corner,
this
yeah,
one thing over
Yeah,
there.
Okay.
To get the history, the nature and the Village Hall of it all, whatever you want to
And if
call
we
it.
It's almost like a
discover-
past, present, future.
Mhm. Okay, so.
Future milkweed.
And I know I want to make sure, because I know Deb, you've got to head out too, but do you have anything else to, I mean, did you have any feedback, Deb, on this too, or?
No, I think,
Okay.
I think we're good.
So
We'll
as
we'll
far
have the
as framing up
conversation.
a recommendation, and I'd like to get the help from this group, because I think that's important to present it back, is, at least what I'm hearing is the idea of some tying into the pergola, maybe more of a vertical. I don't think anyone's opposed to the multiple signs, but there's concern about kind of taking away from the park's aesthetics. Is that what I
But
heard?
also the
Or-
chronology
and
of
the
3 different
chronology, okay.
entrances.
Okay,
That's-
so do we have a recommendation we want to form as far as, I mean, John, maybe you got. some
Yeah,
thoughts.
I don't think we need a recommendation at this point. Let's,
Okay.
I would recommend you go back to
Mm.
historical society.
and I think the plan is for the Historical Society to come to our meeting in May to
Mhm.
kind of formally
This one?
present and discuss, yeah.
Okay. so-
Council meeting in May, right? Not
Oh, was
PRG?
it? I thought they were presenting to PRG.
Oh, maybe.
That'd be good.
But that, we have another PRG meeting this month?
No.
No, it would
This is
be
May. So would it be June?
in June,
Okay.
yeah.
June, they
sorry.
were going to come back with the text, but I think it's important, the conversation will start tonight is what kind of.
If they're gonna come
Yeah.
back with the text, they need.
I thought it was, let me
Right.
clarify, because
Exactly.
I forget where I saw that, but Austin, do you know where that is? Where there was discussion about PRG making a presentation, and I thought it was to PRG. Yeah.
I think
I-
June is what I remember Lauren saying something about coming back with the text in June. So we'll have
Correct.
to-
So,
yeah.
so we'll have
This is the
an
timeliness.
opportunity to
We've got
be
a month
together
to-
and kind of discuss some of
You're
these
gonna
things as well.
tell,
I will relay what we've talked about here as well as show some of this visual. This might help them too, see what we're talking about. But I think
Sure.
the distinction I think I heard, which I was very helpful, was how we could tie it to the pergola and the seating area, because that's, I don't obviously have this on this picture. And we can, as we walk through, show where that area would be. And that's kind of the message I heard, was making it visible so that folks can engage with the
and it's
information.
perfect from the parking area. That's
Mhm.
gonna be the thing you see,
Okay.
not the generator.
Okay. I know we went over here, but I do appreciate the feedback. And John, I know you've been part of these discussions. Is there anything else you feel like we need to capture?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Austin. Okay, new business, Jill.
Okay, so did everybody have a chance to watch the little 3-minute video that I sent over? Okay, so this is sort of an interesting thing. I happened to visit the park in Charlotte and stumbled upon one of these little fitness courts and was like, oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Had no idea these things even existed. And then it was like in my brain and out my brain within like 5 minutes. But then I ended up getting this email, coincidentally, from this group that actually helps to build these. And when we set up a demo, I said, oh my gosh, I stumbled upon one of these things and I thought it was amazing. So basically, the National Fitness Campaign, their goal is to help make fitness free and accessible to everyone, and to get people healthy and moving and outside and working out. So I personally think this is a really cool idea. Initially, I thought we have struggled to sort of figure out any type of feasible use for the pocket park at Publix, for instance. So initially, I thought maybe this would sort of solve that problem. It's kind of hard to grow things there. The soil's terrible and nobody really uses it.
You'll also probably eventually lose a little bit of land there when they widen Providence.
Okay. So this seemed like a potential something that would be a great benefit or asset to the community that could potentially go there. But anyway, I'm just interested in hearing your guys' feedback, because just because I love it doesn't mean you all don't hate the concept or the idea. But I would love to sort of hear some feedback. I think I included for you guys some links to ones that are sort of nearby. There's one in Charlotte, there's one in Indian Trail, there's one in Rock Hill, there's one in Pineville. There isn't currently one in Western Union County at all, or even, other than Indian Trail, there's not one in like Monroe area or anything like that. But just what are the initial thoughts of something like this as a addition to the community?
So I didn't see the video, but what type of fitness courts? Like pickleball tennis courts or some?
I can pull it up. It's like exercise
Yeah,
stations.
because the one from.
I'm going to plug it in so you guys can see.
The one from Indian Trail is probably your best picture.
I was trying to get a sense just space wise. What is that?
Oh, the one
What
like
is
in
the,
Pineville,
I mean, how
yeah.
much?
Oh, okay, so he knows about.
Okay. Jill, do we know dimensionally, like how is it like?
Yeah, she did send me the
I mean, I'm sure
dimensions
it's
of
there,
it,
the
which I'll look up and answer for you in a second. But
There.
Okay,
so
that's-
that is, there's two sizes. There's basically a double-sided or a single side. The single side just has the fitness court.
Mm.
The double size one has a like a studio side where you could do yoga, dance classes. Like currently we have, for instance, we have like a martial arts group that rents out the barn and does martial arts classes in our barn. Like potentially they could use the studio side of it to have an outdoor martial arts class there. You could do boot camps. You could do yoga, chair yoga, silver sneakers. Like there's all kinds of things you could do on the studio side, Zumba. Or you can just have the fitness court side, which is half the size and half the footprint. But what's cool about this is all of the exercises that can be done are on the wall. There's liability sort of waiver statements on the wall. There's an app that goes with it. So you kind of pick what you want to do and your ability level, and it kind of takes you through. It can give you a workout right on your phone that you can follow. And so that's what that one looks like. This is this one's double the size. That shows the studio side. So you can see there's some people there doing a dance class. And then the other side is the fitness. So obviously it depends on how much you want to spend, and it depends on the size of the area that you have available. So yeah, does that answer your question, Michael, about the concept of what this is?
Yeah.
The one you visited, do we know how long it was there, and what did you think of its current condition? How well
It
does
was
weather-
fairly new. It was the Pineville Lake one, and I want to say it was put in either 22, 23. I can't remember, whatever they had like their own like, yay, ribbon cutting
Bill?
kind of post.
Right.
Did you send this to me, by the way, for the minutes?
But it was in great condition. And from my demo, which by the way, so I sat through the presentation with them and they're happy to come, and it was quick and easy and painless. They're happy to come and give that to you as well. But it is designed to be extremely long lasting. It's all weather durable, outdoor, elements that are designed to get beat up by the weather. These fitness courts are all over the country. There are people using them in snow and ice, like they're everywhere, and they hold up extremely well. Other than an occasional power washing from your public works team, the maintenance should be super low, according to them. And so the only time people have upgraded it, like I want to say Stallings recently kind of did an overhaul on theirs, but they're not Stallings. Was it? Indian Trail, thank you. But theirs had been in for a while, and I think they wanted to upgrade to, there's like new fitness trends. And I
Yeah.
think they just kind of gave theirs a little bit of overhaul. But it's my understanding that their public works team did that themselves and didn't need to, obviously utilizing components from the company. The other cool feature of this is that there is a lot of potential grant opportunities for something like this. Let me show you. I don't recommend this.
You
The
just
shade,
The
the
shade,
shade,
yes.
that's the key feature right there.
Yeah.
That was the one feature I wasn't recommending because it's
Telling you,
expensive.
I'm not
Yeah.
going out there.
But let me get you to the, oh, you know what? I think it was page 4.
And
So-
just so folks are aware, I gotta leave in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So a lot of the local health insurance companies are willing to throw grant money at this. Obviously, the more they can get people moving, working out, the less health problems they have. But there's also some potential public-private partnerships. So like, for instance, the one in Charlotte, it was a partnership with Lowe's and the Panthers. Do I think that we're going to get something like that here in Marvin? No. But do I think if we do choose to install it on the Publix property, do I think Publix would want to be a potential sponsor? Sure. Do I think, in my conversations with this company, we even talked about sort of interlocal agreements where, we have a lot of small municipalities in WUMA that it wouldn't make sense for each of us to have one of these. We serve the same community. But there was some conversation about Union County or potentially Weddington, Waxhaw, Wesley Chapel, potentially throwing a little bit of money at it and it being something that we can all sort of collectively promote as a great feature that all of our residents would benefit from. If it was at the Publix Pocket Park, it's a main roadway, it's right off 16, it would get a lot of attention, a lot of traffic, and it's kind of centrally located to Waxhaw, Weddington, Wesley
It would be
Chapel.
a
and
shared investment because because you're not going to control who's using it, right? It's not a Marvin resident only, and that would be right on the
And
Waxhaw
at that
corridor.
location.
Yeah, so that would be, the
Yeah.
shared idea is appealing to me.
Yep, and we talked about that as well, whether or not Marvin were to foot the bill for this entirely or not. It's, their goal is that it would always be open to everybody, to the public. It's
wanna have
never going to
shared
be exclusive to just like Marvin residents or anything like that. And you wouldn't really want it to be like any other park and open space. You wouldn't want it to be. But anyway, just thoughts. Because if you all hate it, there's no point in me taking it to council.
Yeah.
You know what I
no,
mean?
I like it. I think it's certainly an option, with the list of priorities that council is working on right now. Roads is really prominent. So a lot of the financial resources are being dedicated, but that doesn't mean that we just ignore everything else that we need to continue to build as a thriving community. So I think this is certainly another good option, for really any of the places. The one thing that you do think about again, though, even with Publix, is parking, parking always being an
They
issue.
at least
And
have plenty of it, at least for now.
I mean, if you're
well,
gonna work out,
they do for them, but for where, for where it is, then you're actually, if you're going beyond the scope of the parking that we have just for the pocket park, you're kind of burdening them with Publix. I don't know how they'd feel about if you got a larger class of 20 people or 30 people. That's definitely going to be more cars in their lot, so.
after they did their.
Understood, and
That's really gonna be good
I'm
too,
just
right?
saying that those are things that we have to consider.
No,
Yeah.
it's definitely a consideration. When I looked at this, I was number one impressed by the fitness of the people in the video. Damn. But, and we should all look like that. So yay, yeah, very cool.
Solve our problem.
A couple of things that we've already sort of addressed is, number one, how does it weather? Number two, the picture of the shade thing. That was a huge thing.
has to be.
They have to have the shade, and then one of the biggest things is, well, that's super cool, but where would we put it? And I think the Pocket Park is the only place we could put something that's this concrete. It would, yeah, the public, yeah, sorry. This concrete, and visually, like, it's a thing. We were kind of commenting amongst ourselves here, does it have to be blue?
No, that's the other
Well,
thing.
and it could be a natural
Yeah.
color, so it's something that
All
could
of the
blend in
examples I
with a
saw were all
park.
blue, So
Yeah.
can, are,
Yeah.
are. do
Oh,
they
okay,
have
okay.
colors?
I thought, so the court itself, does it have to be blue? I'll find out. I was referring to the back wall, like the whole back side of it,
Well, I saw that they had some artists that did
which
their murals
depending on
the
how
one
you
side.
place it, if that back wall is what is, let's say you don't do the double-sided and you just do the single-sided, which
think
by the way, I have
I
that
would
up on the, I have the dimensions up on the screen for you. So on the right side, you'll see that's the single one where you just have the fitness court and it's 38 foot by 38 foot. It's basically a nice little square. If you choose to have the studio side, then it's double that. It's 38 by 73, basically. It's a little bit, it's more of that big rectangle. But the back wall is basically an open canvas. So it could promote Marvin, it could be promoting, monarchs. You could put whatever artwork you want on it. Mhm.
That's much more tan.
Okay, so that's much better. Okay, cool.
Yes.
And maybe a neutral awning, but anyway, so the shade thing was important.
Yeah.
I have yet to see someone who's actually put in the shades, like of
No, I
all the
know,
ones around
but-
us.
But if we did it over at the Publix and there's no tree cover and that parking, it would be.
And now we got skin cancer. We're healthy.
Ju- Just one thing, with me having to run, just one thing I wanted to touch on that I would have in my village council report. Just also wanted to report that at last night's meeting, we did authorize moving forward with, staff working on the heritage, at Marvin Trail. So that additional one, that Christina and I had the opportunity to walk with Lucas and Hunter and a representative from Jones Homes. There's some things that we'd be looking at doing with the actual placement of the current easement that we think will actually be beneficial for all parties. It might move it a little bit off some of the backs of the houses there, but also keep it well buffered from Meadowlark Lane. But then also there's areas, and some of the reasons we want to go around is to especially save some of the larger trees, that might fall where you just draw up an easement without kind of knowledge of that, but also some of the understory screening that's there available currently, and also some ways we may supplement that in the future. But Christina, I didn't know if you had anything to add to that.
Just the idea that, we talked about in that walkthrough, that we would try to get both neighborhoods together to plant some trees.
Yeah.
So along where we could easily do that and just keep adding trees so that you can't see each other.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that sounds great. I mean, to what you just said about, when they plot these easements on a plat map, we have no idea what's on the ground in that exact location.
And there's
Until
some
you go to do it.
Mm.
And so these things always need adjusting after the fact.
There's some
And so if
giant
they
trees.
are in favor of readjusting and cooperative with that, that's ideal.
Yeah, at this
It's-
point, it's still
once
up to
you've got the
Jones
housing
Homes.
up
Yeah.
To say what is on the ground, where is the best place to put this? And so if they're cooperative with that process, that's perfect.
All
We're not
right.
done yet.
Thank you. I got to run though.
They were also narrowing the,
We are short on time,
okay,
just letting you
so.
know.
Okay.
Well, we just leaped.
So we're just gonna say, yes, we like this idea and we want to keep talking
I think
about
let's
it.
keep talking about it. I would like to understand more about the options for kind of.
And we could go
co-
visit some.
Co-funding it or,
Yeah, so that's up on the screen at the
About 10
moment.
minutes, 'cause we need to stop at 11.
Okay.
Just letting you
That's
know.
up on the screen for you at the moment. You can see if you just do the fitness court and we don't do the double-sided one, the cost is about 175,000. We would apply for grant funding that would come straight from NFC. The largest award we would get is 30,000, which we would then have to match with 30,000 of our own dollars. So 60,000 of the 175 would be covered right through the grant. And then from there, the NFC actually works on your behalf to reach out to partners like Blue Cross Blue Shield North Carolina or other. They identify basically funding partners for your project and try to see how much of it they can get you grant funding for. Whether we could apply for more funds on our own, or again, I would want to reach out to WUMA and see about doing some interlocals with the county to see who else wants to partner with this and or where else we could get some funding. We do have, in addition, we have $25,000 in the CIP and in the budget that was approved for park amenities that currently has no real firm thing. So that's an additional 25,000 that could potentially be thrown at this. So it's
I would be in favor of exploring it further. I mean, at first I was like, this doesn't, my first gut was, this is really cool, but it doesn't fit with anything.
mhm.
But like our park system, but specifically for the Publix one, if we think people are willing to just drive there as
Mhm.
opposed to
Do you have
encountering it
enough
on a
traffic?
trail.
Do you have enough folks who would actually go there? That's my only concern, is that's a destination, and unless you have a very specific workout and.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna
do
go
it,
use
you know,
that and then
right,
go grocery
that-
shopping. I don't know, but I'd be willing
yeah,
to explore
yeah,
that further.
right.
Yeah.
But this is as good as a pickleball court, probably
Better.
So what
Which is the
they,
only other thing we've ever talked about putting there.
basically what they look for first is they want to know that people in leadership roles have some buy-in in this, number one. So if you guys want to pursue this, my next thing would be to show it to council and say, PRG was interested in pursuing this further as well. What do you guys think? And then after that, they do site analysis. So they already had me send them the street address and the parcel IDs for both Marvin Eford Park and for this. We all agreed they would prefer, especially if there's going to be grant dollars and sponsorships and partners. Obviously, the most traffic and the most visible is ideal. So I don't know that they would want to put it at Marvin Eford Park, although it's a cool option, but I think they prefer the Pocket Park at Publix as well. And then I think that would also open it up for us to potentially to get more cooperation from WUMA or the county if it's not located on a Marvin Park, but it's actually on a main thoroughfare that serves all of the different communities. So they work with you on making sure that the site that you chose actually would work for it. They'll come out and inspect that site at Publix, and if it doesn't, they'll tell us like, sorry guys, this doesn't work. Unless you have another location you want to put it at, it's possibly dead in the water at that point, but at least we explored it. If the site works, there's leadership and buy-in, then they move on to attempting to get grant funding for us. And we kind of fine tune what we want. I can ask about colors and things like that, but what I'd love to do is have them on your agenda for June to kind of give you a presentation about it. And then I'll put it on the council calendar for June as well to kind of just at least introduce them to it and show them that this is something that we're looking at, that we potentially could have almost a quarter of it already funded actually, we could have 85,000 of it. So a little less than half already sort of funded through grants and what we already have in the budget.
And have we, I mean, I know the survey came back, right, and there wasn't a real appetite for like an investment in like a ball field or an athletic facility. So I just want to make sure we don't this isn't kind of coming into that area where people said they didn't want to have, I mean, this is kind of more passive activity, not passive, it's individual activity, but.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is
This-
not the kind of thing that was really reflected in the survey, and I think that's a good thing, but for that particular, I would only be considering this for that particular location, and it
Yeah.
sounds like that particular location actually meets with their requirements better anyway, and that's kind
Yeah.
of been a like, what do we do with
Right,
it?
we've got this
kind of
asset, and that's
spot.
why I feel like if we have the asset, we own it, we can get
Right.
Luma folks to pay for it because we've already got we're offering
And
the
to your
land.
point about
you know?
other people are gonna be using
Yeah.
it, so if other municipalities are
Yes.
contributing as well, then it's not
Yeah.
just us.
Well, and I also feel like all we keep hearing is that like, what are we doing with that pocket park? It's kind of a waste. It's not being used. I wish we could give it back. We're not doing anything with it. So
And
if-
it's already concrete around there and
if we can find a use for it that benefits the community, even if it's not benefiting just Marvin residents, but I think we can all agree it's a benefit to the community when you have something that is free and promotes people being out in nature, working out, getting exercise, getting healthy, and
We've got a sign.
utilizes a space that's currently not being utilized. I think it's a cool amenity to have in the area.
Are you looking for a formal recommendation today?
No, I'm just looking,
Wanna
I'm just,
proceed.
can I have a recommendation to at least introduce it to council and see if they love or hate it?
in favor of pursuing.
So if you guys
Okay.
are good with it, she's going to take it to council.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
And we'll try to visit one or two of these.
Is that the only location that they would evaluate for it that we have?
Probably right now, because it has to be land that we own. The only other potential place I could think of in the future, but it's hard for me to say because I really know so little about it, would be like somewhere in the Heritage, but I don't think so. I don't think it fits. I don't think it fits. I've heard about a pocket park being there, but I don't think it makes sense there. So I also think it would be too remote and too off the beaten path. So this is literally the only place I can think of that would work. And I was just trying to think of a way to make that space more useful because all I ever hear is we're paying for it and nobody uses it and no one knows it's there and there's no draw and wish we could give it away.
Who live out in that part of the
Yeah.
village that also bring in assets to them too, right? Because folks in
Yeah, there's
Washington
very little
Chase do
over on
not
that
get
side.
access to easily to some of the other.
Yeah.
things, so.
And then the only other question I'd have for future stuff is
What?
liability, which
Yeah, Julie, everything else.
Yeah, is for future stuff is what? Sorry.
is like, when we discuss this in the future, is liability, you know?
Oh, yeah, no, I definitely asked about that
Yeah.
because,
I know you did, so we'll talk about that when,
yeah.
if it goes forward further.
Mhm.
All right, and we're kind of what?
You
Have
don't
nice-
have a public works report and John already gave his village
Okay.
council report. So we can go on to action items. So Jill's going to present that idea for a fitness court to council. Christina, you're going back to your group with the feedback from today's meeting regarding the signage and I'll get you files for the entrance sign. You guys are recommended approval of the grass conversion plan. I'll get that to council. I'll format it and get it to council. Christina's already sent me a couple plants to add to the do not plant list. I will reformat that Native American tribe language and I'll send that to you, Christina, to take back to your group. I will finish formatting the community events recommendations and that'll be on council's next. That should actually might be on their May work session, so a couple weeks. And that is about it. So you're good to go on to board member comments.
Any comments from anyone? We've had a lot of good discussions. Open the item. Michael, anything to update? Any comments?
I got a question from the previous topic we are talking about. So you're talking about pickleball courts. What have we decided about that? Are we still gonna do it eventually or?
It had been proposed in the past that that pocket park at Publix, we'd had a gentleman from one of the communities right there, I guess like Weddington Chase, had come in and proposed that we install a pickleball court there. We explored the idea, but have never committed to it. And although pickleball is very, very popular, we just have not gone there. And so that particular pocket park is still unused. And that would be the only place to put one because it's the only place that would have the parking and already sort of be not natural.
I will say it would be really useful because a lot of like pickleball places are always like really busy, so in Marvin, it would be really good to have one.
It is still a consideration.
Just a quick note, you're not supposed to use board member comments to bring up other topics. It's just supposed to be your party comments per the rules of procedure. Just want to remind y'all.
No, thank you, Allison. Okay. Other comments?
Yeah.
Okay. No, well, thank y'all for a good discussion and that I make a motion to adjourn today's meeting at 10:57. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, under the wire.
I didn't know in the comments if I could show off the pretty sign that the Monarch, Mayor's Monarch program has.
And this
That's
goes
great.
to, I think this goes to a National Wildlife Federation page. This goes to a Habitat Builders page
Excellent.
of things that are supposed to be blooming right now that I have updated.
And I need to go get their post.
Yeah, and